This is the Sons of UCF podcast, your place for UCF sports talk year-round. Now, here is Adam and Mike.
Well now, Sons of UCF is back, and maybe, better than ever. It's episode number 113. I'm Adam, and I've got my good buddy UCF Mike with me. As always, greetings, Mike. Merry Christmas. How are you?
Merry Christmas, man. I'm doing very well. Everything good over there? You guys have a good holiday?
It was a fantastic holiday. It was a nice, relaxing weekend. The weather was very seasonable, and all was enjoyed. I saw you had a good Christmas as well. I saw a new addition to the family, which we may get to later on, but there's a four-legged animal now running around your house. Is that correct?
Yeah, not including myself. Yeah, there's another one.
All right, well... But a lot of reaction. You asked for a Night Nation to help you with a name, so you're going to want to stick around. At the end of the show, we will exclusively reveal the name of the new UCF Mike family member. So don't go anywhere. You don't want to miss that. Also on the show, Mike, we're going to do something different. We haven't done this in a while. As maybe you maybe know. Our shows were previously available on another feed. Those shows disappeared from your feed and are lost forever. Or are they? We actually have all of those still saved and archived. And while some of the sports stuff won't necessarily translate over because the 2018 Temple football recap probably isn't relevant to you, Mike, we had just a plethora of really cool interviews that we've curated over time. And so we're going to try something different. We're actually going to replay a Sons of UCF throwback interview on the show today, Mike. One of our favorites. This comes from, I think it was March of 2019. And it was our good buddy, UCF basketball great Dexter Lyons. So we're going to replay the Dexter Lyons interview for you. We'll also go over the recap from the Houston UCF basketball game and some news and notes. We'll take your questions as well, Mike. That is the show agenda. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, the Dexter Lyons interview was one of my favorites for a long time. It's still up there. It's one of the few basketball ones we did, and he's just a fun guy to talk to. He's got a great personality, has some really cool stories. I really enjoyed the Dexter one, and for new listeners that haven't maybe been around as long as some of the staples like Nelson and Cost Seg Advisor that I've heard every episode. I know there's a bunch of new ones that we just picked up in the last few months. They probably haven't heard this one. I'm sure they're going to really like it. And if you, an old timer like us, back in the early 2000s, you remember UCF basketball making the tournament a couple times, and Dexter was the guy that got us there.
Yeah, we've been kind of joking that we're a basketball school now because the football team is over. But the reality is we talked about this on the pregame show on Saturday. We've been a basketball school for a long time. Then we're going way, way, way back in the Torchy Clark, Bo Clark days. We've also had Bo Clark on the show. And one of the teams that had a lot of success was the team that Dexter was on. So he's going to take you through all that stuff and kind of the ups and downs and kind of his UCF basketball career, what he's been doing since then. It's a really fun convo. So make sure you stick around for Dexter. Again, nothing really topical. So if you don't feel like, oh my goodness, well, you're going to hear a bunch of old stuff. It's actually really good, really relevant stuff. So stick around for Dexter. And hopefully Dexter would be proud, Mike. I guess maybe we should have Dexter on maybe the pregame show one of these days. And we should ask Dexter how he feels about this current iteration of the UCF basketball squad, which had a really good opportunity, Mike, Saturday at 1 o'clock on prime time. Well, I guess that's not prime time. Saturday, 1 o'clock on ABC. A big staple game against the then 6th-ranked Houston Cougars. UCF had an opportunity to potentially maybe get themselves in the top 20, top 25, top 15, somewhere along those lines. And while the boys played well, Mike, unfortunately, at the end, the bad guys came on top. Houston wins that game 63-54. First things first, Mike. Obviously, it was a great opportunity to have them be in a position to be on a 1 o'clock ABC game. What were your thoughts just overall on kind of on the stage and how UCF kind of got themselves ready and prepared for that game?
I was very excited for this game. I had a lot of hype coming into it. We started off nice with the win against Florida State and beating Auburn early in the year. We had the one hiccup against Michigan, and we opened conference play with a win against Cincinnati. So the team was looking good to start the year and was getting some good publicity. We started getting votes in the AP. So it was a big matchup, man. It was a good test for the team early in the year. I liked what I saw coming in. And, we played a pretty solid game most of the way. We got in a little cold there in the second half, but very competitive. We're talking about playing the number 6 team in the country, and we were right there with them all the way throughout the whole game. So I saw some promising things. There's a couple things we need to clean up a little bit, but it's to be expected. And I really enjoyed the performance on Saturday.
Yeah, it was it was interesting. It kind of had shades of that Michigan game where we start off like really hot and Houston wasn't able to respond initially. We kind of jumped out to a pretty significant lead there early on. We had a double digit lead for a while there. Houston ended up kind of chipping away at that. We go into halftime tied, Mike. But in that first 20 minutes, you saw what this UCF team is capable of. You saw a lot of just running the floor, a lot of athletes, hustle plays. Some really good passing, some good team passing. Sean Mobley had a couple of really nice dimes for some hoops down there. And you kind of saw I think what we're all excited about, the potential of this team, especially in that first half. Again, Houston made a run. Everybody makes a run in college basketball, and we ended up tied at halftime. But for that first, my 10, 12-minute stretch, Mike, it was looking like we were going to, continue our dominance. Our defense was fantastic. We had, I recall at least 1 or 2 shot clock violations where we were just all over and smothering Houston. We started off really, really well, which – at least gives you some hope to think about what the ceiling of this team could be at some point.
I think we're one of the best teams in the country in the first 10 minutes of a game. We started out every game on fire. We were doing things that we said we had to do, like getting rebounds early. We were all over the boards in the first half. I know Houston started off cold. They ended up making some shots later in the game, and that was the difference. But early on, man, the only thing that was holding us back early in the game were the turnovers. If we didn't turn the ball over, I think we turned the ball over like 3 of the first 4 possessions. So if we would have kept that in check, we could have built up an even bigger lead on these guys. And then Isaiah Adams with 2 early fouls. That kind of slowed down the offense a little bit too. But first half, I had no complaints. Both teams went on big runs. Like you said, we were up big, and then they ended up coming back to tie it up. And I would have taken a tie game going into halftime all day if you asked me before the game.
Yeah, I felt good with where we were. I mean, the foul trouble was certainly an issue with respect to Adams specifically, and there wasn't one guy. I think that was the interesting thing about it is, for Houston, I think it was Marcus Sasser was kind of their lead guy in the first half there. We were kind of very balanced from a scoring perspective with Mahan, with Green. Mobley had a couple of buckets. So we'd been pretty balanced in the first half, and going into halftime, tied at 25, although we did not go in. There's a difference of being tied, right? Being tied where you kind of scrap your way back, and tied where you're in the lead the entire time. Obviously, due to the yo-yo nature of that first half, it wasn't like we were cruising in there with a tie. We kind of scrapped our way to a tie at halftime there. But, you felt good about it. And the second half came out, Mike, and that's where Houston, you could tell they made an easy adjustment. In the first half, they shot 18 3-pointers. They only took 7 the entire second half. Obviously, a concerted effort for them to drive the basket, and that shows in their shooting percentage. They were shooting 30% from the floor in the first half. They shot 41% from the floor in the second half. Concerted effort to get some easier buckets, easier chances down there. And then, unfortunately, UCF went cold, only shooting 34% in the second half. Did not make a single 3-point shot. Their shooting goes cold for UCF. That is credit to Houston defense as well. I mean, it's not like we were. Not like they had nothing to do with it, but the second half, obviously, Houston kind of wars down there, and ultimately comes out with a victory, 63-54.
Yeah, and for as cold as they were to start the game, we kind of got cold in the second half ourselves. We had an 8-minute stretch in the second half late where we couldn't score from the field. Darren Green, not his best shooting performance, 1 for 4 from 3. But I was surprised how we out-rebounded them. We out-rebounded these guys 38-28. And that was the one part of the game coming in where I thought we were going to be at a big disadvantage. And our guys came out ready for that. Who was it? Fuller had 10 rebounds.
He did, yeah.
And he's a guard. So we saw some good things. Darius Perry sometimes had me shaking my head with some of his decisions. And there was a stretch there with like 3 possessions in a row where he decided to chuck them up, but he didn't make any of them. And that's when Houston kind of turned things around on us. I know he ended up with 13 points, but most of those because he was driving late in the game and he hit 9 of his 10 free throws.
Yeah.
But the turnovers were the killer of the game. That was the one aspect of the game. If we would have cleaned that up, and we would have had a real shot to win this one. But overall, against the number 6 team in the country early in the year, a big test, we didn't get blown out.
Yeah.
We were right in this game the whole way. And if you're a gambler, what was the spread? 8.5? We lose by 9.
Bad beats.
That's gotta be a killer.
Yeah. Well, what was funny is, again, UCF on offense, it's, I think they have to figure out what their identity is. Brandon Mahan came into this game, the leading scorer, averaging 22.5 a game. I think, listen, I like Brandon Mahan as a player, but I don't think anybody thinks he's going to keep scoring at 22 points a game. A lot of that, obviously, is the big game he had against Florida State. So regression to the mean is certainly something that's possible for Brandon Mahan. But he only took 8 shots, Mike. And again, I don't know if he's our quote-unquote best player. I don't know if he's our quote-unquote best scorer. But to take 8 shots, if you are that guy, either A, Houston did a really nice job defensively, which obviously is possible, or B, just didn't get into the flow of the offense. You mentioned Darren Green Jr., 5 of 12 from the field. Not necessarily his best shooting night. And then it was, where else is offense coming from? And you mentioned Darius Perry. He had 13 points, but he had 9 of those off free throws. So he shot 2 of 7 from the field, and he took a couple of really quick trigger shots down there in the end. I think if you had it back, I think Dawkins would love to pull the ball back out and run some offense or try to get somebody moving. But you mentioned the turnovers, Mike. Dre Fuller, listen, he's kind of stepped into that lead guard role. Obviously, Tony Johnson not playing, and I don't think there's an expectation he's going to be playing for a while. And so Dre Fuller's kind of been that lead ball-handling guard, 7 turnovers. He also went 5 of 9 from the free throw line. I think he obviously struggled a bit, and I think that forced Johnny to have to put Darius in there a little bit more. And so the continuity, I think, from the ball-handling standpoint just wasn't there. And then C.J. Walker, again, the kid will probably come into his own at some point, Mike. He took 3 shots, only had 2 points. He did have 5 boards. So he was active, but you just didn't get a ton of offense, and it just seemed like we kind of went dry. And we had 15 points off the bench, and 11 fast break points. And the 11, fast break points, I think, are the points that, separated us, particularly in the first half, but in kind of the half-court offense we talked about in the pregame show, didn't seem like we knew who to go to and kind of who that go-to guy was going to be.
All right, and Isaiah Adams, for much as we praised him early in this season, only 2 points, and I think that was on a breakaway dunk where there was nobody around him.
Yeah.
He was 1 for 6 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3. As a team, we only hit 2 3-pointers, 2 out of 13. That's not going to get it done. And our free throw shooting, for as good as it was early in the year, we were in the 80 percentile. We only shot 71% from the line this game. So you're going to have off-night shooting. Just had it at a bad time. And for a long stretch, when we talked to Bo Clark in the pregame, he says avoiding those long stretches of not scoring from the field is what we got to do. And unfortunately, and you give credit to Houston, they play good defense. They only allow 55 points a game, so we were right on schedule for them. Yeah. But that's what killed us in the end. We went 8.5 minutes without a field goal, and that's where we lost the game.
Yeah, a couple other things. It was a choppy game. I feel like there were a lot of fouls that were called on both teams. I think UCF had 24 total. Houston had 21. So just a lot of fouls, kind of make it a choppy game. Doesn't allow you to get a flow when you're coming up and down the court, and then there's a foul call. So UCF's ability to maybe get out on the break a little bit and run can certainly be mitigated by that. Obviously, it allows for free throws to be shot. From UCF standpoint, we talked about how well we had done as a team from a free throw shooting perspective. In this game, only shot 70%, 20 of 28. We had a couple of misses in particular. But, Mike, it's the turnovers. 17 total team turnovers. To put it in the context, we had 8 against Cincinnati the week before, or the game before, and then 13 against Florida State. So you turn the ball over 17 times. You don't shoot as anywhere near as well as I think we're capable of, and you play a really good team that has quality players on it. They had some good guys. They had some good guys on that Houston squad. Caleb Mills came back first game. He's been back in a while. He didn't shoot it great, but he still had 12 points. Sasser was 4 of 10 from 3 and 19 for them. And then Giroux kind of took over towards the end there and had a couple of tough buckets. So was kind of a recipe for disaster there in that second half with all those things taking place.
And the second half really slowed down. You talk about the fouls. There weren't a lot of fouls in the first half. In the second half, the refs seemed to be blowing them a lot more. But this game we were right there. It was 48-45 and it was stuck at that score for a while. And we had multiple chances to tie it or at least get within one, and we just couldn't do it. I think Darren Green missed a couple threes, and then that was it. We had our chance right there. It was like 4 minutes to go. And then once we didn't tie it, these guys pulled away a little bit, and that was the end of it, man. But, young team in a big test game against these guys. We're going to see them again in Houston in a couple weeks, and we'll see how we've grown from there. So still early, and we're 1-1 in the conference. I think, like we've said, this is the hardest stretch of the schedule. We've gotten through it now, 3-2. We were signed up for that all day. So let's keep going now and keep moving on. And I like how Dawkins said after the game, he's not happy about this performance. He's not happy after a loss. Even though we saw a lot of good things coming out of this game, none of these guys are satisfied. They know that they could have won this game, and now they know the things they need to clean up to move forward in this season.
Well, something else to look at. So UCF only went 7 deep in this game. Jamil Reynolds, we talked to, Eric Lopez on the pregame show. He had kind of left the team. Obviously, there's speculation. You can probably draw your own conclusion as to why you think he wasn't around the team. Nothing officially has been announced. I did see, I think, on Brandon Howick, I think, posted something in the message boards about Reynolds being at the game and maybe on the bench or something like that. So there had been some thought he left the program or, what was going on. Obviously, again, draw your own conclusions there. But he, pretty heralded freshman. He started a couple of games, his first 2 games actually. He did not play. Doumbia didn't get in the game. Diggs didn't get in the game. So UCF went kind of 7 deep. That's going to be tough to do, Mike, in a college basketball season, particularly with young guys like Adams who are going to get in foul trouble. To only be able to go 7 deep is going to be a bit of a challenge. So I'm not sure if it's something that Johnny will take a look at or kind of how that'll work out. But it was interesting that we only went 7 deep, and you can kind of tell at some points where guys getting tired. Obviously, these are young guys are used to running around all day long, but as the season goes on, wearing down 7 guys not a recipe for success.
What's your typical rotation look like? 8, 9, 10 guys?
Yeah, I think you want to go 8, 9, somewhere in there, right? I mean, Houston played 10 in this game. A couple guys only got, less than 10 minutes, so I think anywhere between that 8 to 10 mark would be ideal. But, going 7, even NBA teams don't go 7. They usually go 8, 9. Maybe Doumbia gets a chance. Obviously, he got a little shot happy in the Auburn game. Maybe there's some stuff going there. Avery Diggs is a big body. I don't think he's the offensive guy that we need. And, maybe the matchup with Houston, they don't go really big on the inside. So maybe, Dawkins felt like he didn't need to bring in any additional length on the inside. Maybe that'll change. But we'll see if Reynolds comes back. He played well, Mike. He's a kid that, the coaches raved about. Didn't do much. And, his time, I think he's only averaging like 3 points a game. But we'll see if he comes back. But interesting that Johnny only went 7 deep.
Right. And, the one thing that kind of got overlooked, and we've heard people mention it before, is Sean Mobley's passing ability. Mm-hmm. He had some beautiful passes in this game. And I think he only had a few assists on the board, but he looked really nice the way he was moving the ball around. That was something that I believe Eric Lopez mentioned in the pregame. And it looked like Magic Johnson on a couple of those passes. Yeah.
Well, I think you and I had kind of talked about Mobley a little bit off air too. He's not shooting it great. I think he's 4 of 15 from the floor, 26%, 2 of 9 from 3. So he hadn't been shooting it well, but if he wants to, sort of be that guy, I think he's second on the team, if I'm looking at this correctly, in assists with 10 behind Dre Fuller. So, and obviously Fuller has the ball in his hands more times than not. He's also second on the team in turnovers. Mobley is with 9, so there's that too. But yeah, if he can kind of be that, that passing big man who kind of gets the ball at the elbows, turns around, initiates offense, and guys can kind of go backdoor and cut off of that. I mean, that certainly could be a good offensive weapon, particularly with the athletes we have with Adams and with Walker. You get those guys going to the hoop, and it's going to be hard pressed for someone to get underneath them. You saw C.J. Walker make a top 10 highlight against Cincinnati, so I don't think a lot of guys want that smoke, but. The challenge, Mike, is just, we have a few guys who aren't shooting it very well. You mentioned Darius Perry. He's only shooting 5 of 24 from the floor, 20%. Again, the offense seems to kind of bog down a little bit when he gets in there. I think some of the scouting reports have him as a shoot first point guard versus a pass first point guard. And if you want any evidence of that, Mike, he has 0 assists on the year. So he has the ball in his hands more than anybody else when he's on the court probably, and 0 assists. So I think that's something we have to take a look at, and Johnny's got to figure out how to best utilize Darius Perry, because we can't have somebody running the point with 0 assists on the year.
Yeah, and he looked a little out of control, like I said before, on some of those possessions, and a couple quick shots, instead of letting something set up. I didn't like a couple of those possessions he had. And I texted you during the game about him.
Yes, you did.
I wasn't happy with his performance, even though I ended up with leading the team in points. But like we said, that was mostly free throws. But the schedule now. Okay, we talked about how we've gone through these first little gauntlet of games. Now we get Tulane coming up. Tulane hasn't started off the season well.
Well, hold on. Tulane maybe. So there is some stuff. I think Mark Daniels had said this in the postgame that Tulane sent their kids home for Christmas. And so they're now going to be coming back to campus, and there may be some issues with COVID concerns. So that one may be TBD, but it is still scheduled for Wednesday night as of right now.
All right, and they're 0-2 to start off conference play, 5-2 overall. So not a team that we expect to be that hard of a game, and it's at home. They just lost a 10-point game to East Carolina. They lost to Memphis. We should be able to take care of those guys. And then you get the Cows. The Cows are a pretty decent team too. They're starting off 5-3. And, there's really not an easy stretch in this schedule because after that you get Memphis and at Tulsa, where we know we've never won, at Temple, and then at Houston again, and then SMU. So between now and basically through the end of January, it's not easy, no easy sledding. I think the schedule lightens up maybe in February. But for this next month, so it's a tough conference, man. There's not really that many. You're not going to put 2 or 3 easy games in a row. So, teams, just as long as we don't get into any kind of 2-3 game losing streaks, we'll be okay.
Yeah, the predicted finish from the preseason poll, the bottom 3 teams were Tulane, Temple, and ECU. Everybody else, obviously, UCF was picked to finish 8th. Wichita, Tulsa, the Cows, Cincy, SMU, Memphis, Houston ahead of that. So we are the quote-unquote 8th team in that conference, and there's only 3 behind us. So to your point, yeah, there are definitely some good teams left on the schedule. But here's the thing, Mike. I mean, as a UCF basketball fan, and I'll ask you this question, I guess, you have to feel encouraged with where we are right now, yes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this team started off much better than I even thought they would or even hoped they would. I mean, that Florida State win was huge. That's going to be a big mark on our resume late in the year if it comes down to getting into the tournament. We need a couple more of those big ones. We play Houston again. They're a top-ranked team. SMU may find their way into the rankings at some point. We got a couple shots at them. Memphis, usually, and Wichita State, if they continue playing well, they're the teams that can find their way into the top 25. So some big games still to be had. And yeah, for sure. I like the way the team's going, especially with not having a lot of warm-up games to start this season. We pretty much jumped right into conference play, and our out-of-conference games were pretty tough games in themselves. So this team is tested, that's for sure.
Well, it's going to take these guys time to gel together. I think the challenge becomes when you beat a Florida State. Obviously you kind of look and go, okay, look, we're ready to go. We're ready to hit the ground running. And while obviously that's a really big win, again, this is a team that up until that point had only played a handful of games together, right? I mean, they'd only played 3 games together by the time or 2 games actually by the time they got to Florida State. And so they're still going to have to figure out some of these things on the fly, kind of who handles the ball, who's our closing lineup, right? When we gotta have a closing 5. Who's on the floor? Who can make free throws? Who's going to be able to get a tough basket? Is that Mahan and or is that Darren Green Jr.? Kind of who's that guy? How do you use a guy like Adams who's a slasher who's got a ton of confidence for a true freshman? Where does CJ Walker fit in? How does his role evolve? Is he just going to be kind of a do everything guy? Does he have any offensive set that we want to put in there? So I think there's so much still left to kind of figure out this group. And the reality is early success, is certainly bodes well, but they're probably going to be a couple of these bump in the road games where it just takes these guys some time to figure it out. Losing Tony Johnson 14 minutes into his season obviously was a tough break, no pun intended. But I guess we'll see how this group comes together. But you got to feel excited about this young team, and you've seen this flashes, right? You saw the flash against Michigan, although that turned into be a dumpster fire at the end. I mean, you saw that first half, right? You saw that that first half against Houston. There were some bright spots in those games. And I feel like in years past, those are games where we get down early and we never really, got a chance to get back in it. I feel like with this squad, it feels like we're high energy. We're out of the gates. We're flying high. That'll be about sustaining and learning how to win some of those tough games. And doing it together with a group of guys who, again, don't have a bunch of familiarity with each other, but certainly have a lot of talent.
when we talk about football, what's the big thing that we're always missing? Quality losses. And we have 2 quality losses. Houston is number 5 now, and Michigan is number 16. So those are pretty good losses to have if you're going to have losses. As long as we don't lose games to East Carolina, we shouldn't lose to Tulane, stuff like that. No hiccups that way. We'll be okay. But take care of business in those games, and then split the games against SMU and Houston. We already won the first game against Cincinnati, so now you got to get greedy when we go on the road there and see if we take that one. Mm-hmm. Split the Wichita State games. We've never won in Wichita. We've never won in Tulsa. If we can break through on the road in one of those 2, that'd be nice. But just don't have a bad loss. Temple's not supposed to be a good team. Don't lose to them. And don't lose to these bad teams at home, that's for sure.
Well, I think you had said this earlier. I think you said it on the pregame show, or maybe you said it on Twitter. Kind of the old George O'Leary-ism is, either you get exposure or you get exposed. I don't think we got exposed, Mike. I think you walk away from that game, and yes, we weren't on the right side of the scoreboard, but I don't think you walked away from that game kind of being like, oh, what are we doing here? I think, as a Knight fan, you hold your head high. The guys fought. To your point, there were certainly a couple of moments where we get a tip, we get a break here or there, and maybe it's a different game. And Houston's a good team. They're a veteran team. They kind of wore us down after a while there. I don't think you walk away from that game completely deflated. I think even though it's a loss, I think it's a head held high kind of game, and hopefully it bodes well for the rest of the season.
We're receiving votes in the AP poll, so we're getting some respect. It's one guy who has us ranked at number 24, Mark Berman, and hofully, we can get a couple other guys to catch on. We're making a name for ourselves. We're getting publicity. You see guys like John Rothstein and some of these guys that really cover college basketball closely, mentioning us all the time. So as long as we're getting some good publicity, I think we'll be okay. We don't have to win this conference. That's another good thing about being in this conference and it being so good. We don't have to win it to get into the tournament, but we do have to finish in the top, 3 at least, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
2.
For as good as the conference is, and I think it's an underrated conference. It's pretty deep. We're not going to be a conference that's going to get 5-6 bids to the tournament. So, you're probably going to need to be in that that top 3, that top 4 section to sniff the tournament. So yeah, I think we got to keep ourselves kind of in that really first top tier, and maybe even make some noise in the conference tournament to have a really solid shot. Because I don't think this is a conference historically that's going to go that deep in terms of number of selections to the committee.
And get us in a good spot where we have a good seed for the conference tournament, so we don't have to play Houston or SMU in the second round.
Right.
We finish in the top 3, and we can beat up on Temple or, there's not really that many bad teams. East Carolina or maybe something in the first round, and then see where it goes from there. And then win a tough game against Wichita or something like that.
And it's a weird year,
and
it's a weird year too, right? You have no idea what's going to happen. Are certain teams going to, have issues down the road? Are there going to be different scheduling changes? Are we going to have some games that are canceled? It's a weird year, so I think it's anything that can happen kind of year. But it's an exciting team. Again, keep an ear peeled. By the time you hear this, you may already know or not. But again, sounds like that Tulane game may be a little bit in flux. But if not, Saturday night, 7 p.m. on ESPN. We're back on the Plus, Mike, Saturday night on the Plus. ESPN Plus will be our home for a handful of games if you saw the schedule. We have the Cows, so that'll be a nice Saturday night game. Have some fun over the weekend there. New Year's Day comes around, watch some college football or whatever, and then boom, you got the Cows and UCF for hoops there. So keep your eyes, ears peeled on all that stuff. Obviously, Mike and I will be breaking all of that down as much as we can around here on the Suns UCF. But let's take a quick commercial. We'll come back. We'll do some football stuff, some headlines. You got your questions. So we'll get to all that stuff right after this on the Suns UCF. Let's get into some headlines, Mike, around the football scene. Not a lot happening really there, so we'll run through some of this, and we have some questions from the audience. We'll take a bunch of those here tonight as well. Probably the first news is there is no news, and that being on the coaching front. Obviously, a lot of speculation about what would happen, particularly with defensive coordinator Randy Shannon. Sounds like I think there was conflicting reports, Mike. The way I interpret it is his contract is up, meaning that he's not currently. I don't know when the date is, I guess officially, but he's he's not currently re-signed yet with UCF, meaning he could A, walk away on his own, or B, just not have a contract presented to him. Is that the way you understand his contract as well?
That's how I understood it coming into the season, that this was his last year on the contract. And usually college football coaches, at least for head coaches, when they go into their last year, you see them extend for 2-3 years. So they always have to tell the recruits, hey, I'm going to be here for the next 3-4 years. And that wasn't the case coming into the season. It was maybe the writing on the wall coming into the year. Does Shannon know? Does Shannon want to retire? He's not that old. I think he still likes to coach. We always talk about, does he want to be a head coach somewhere? Maybe he still has that door open to him. I don't know what's going to happen. If you had a bet on whether he's coming back or not, would you say, no, he's out? Or if he was coming back, we probably would have already extended him, right?
I would assume so. I think the money's an issue too, right? Because I think he was making $1 million this past season. And I don't think that's a rate UCF wants to continue to pay for a D coordinator. Not that, whether or not you think he's worth it or not is another story. Just the pure financials of, being in a COVID situation. That could be the other sticking point is Danny's like, hey, bro, we need you to take like a $600,000 pay cut. And maybe Randy's like, are you out of your mind? So there certainly could be some of that. At this point, yeah, you would think they'd want to extend him if they could, or you'd hear some chatter about that. And you haven't. So really no news on that. I guess my gut would say no extension, Mike, no re-signing. But again, that's just speculation on my part.
And his son is already gone, right? His son is graduated by now. Yeah. That was one of the reasons he probably signed on with us to begin with. And he was getting paid by Florida for the first couple of years he was here too, which kind of made it easier on us.
Yeah.
So now that it's all on us to pay him, I don't know if we can, one, afford him, or two, if they even want him back, or not, if he even wants to be here anymore.
Yeah. Well, the news is that there is no news. And so not that that's surprising out of UCF, but nothing's been scheduled. There's nothing talked about. I wouldn't be surprised if that doesn't kind of lag on for a while here as, kind of the holiday stuff comes around. They're probably in no hurry to get out there and give us any information on what's happening with that. Similar to the offensive staff opening, Mike, obviously Anthony Tucker's position still available. Not a whole lot of scuttlebutt, if you will, out there and on who that is. Don't even know if Heupel's interviewing anybody. I got to assume, Mike, he's looking around a little bit right now to see who pops free. And, some of these other, teams have gotten rid of their coaches, other staff members who are displaced now because of that. Is Heupel trying to connect the dots on that? We talked about it last show. Really curious. I think this is going to be a really interesting hire whenever Heupel makes it. But as of right now, still no addition to the offensive staff.
And we talked about last week who we wanted to see on the staff with Ryan Schneider. Get him, or at least somebody with UCF ties. And talking offense, he's one of the guys. We talked about Henshaw being a guy, bringing somebody like Becton back, somebody that wants to be part of this program, that loves UCF. And you can say the same thing about a defensive guy. So if we were going to replace Randy Shannon, who are we going to replace him with? And also, if he's gone, does his contract expire on January 1st? Is that what we're waiting to hear? Or is it one of these things like a week after the bowl game, which would be tomorrow? Are we waiting? Is news going to pop on this any day now? Or how long can they actually sit around and wait for this to happen? Because if you know he's going to be gone, you got to start looking for a replacement. You got to start putting feelers out there now. And I'm sure Heupel knows who he would want.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I think that, yes, would be my, kind of like, we talked about this with, I think it was Tribble, right? We had Keith Tribble on the show. Athletic directors always have that list of coaches' names they keep in their top drawer of their office, right? I got to imagine Heupel has something similar on assistant coaches that he wants to bring onto his staff at some point. He's got to have that short list, that's in the top drawer of that desk there that he kind of breaks out. You ask when we would know. That's a great question, Mike, because here's the challenge. UCF doesn't necessarily have any media things coming up, right? The football season is over. So there's no more bowl practices. There's none of that stuff going on. Recruiting is done at this point. So there's no recruiting updates to be had. So I'm not even sure if there's really any media that'll be scheduled in the upcoming weeks from a UCF standpoint with the season really officially being over. Randy's not much of a talker, FYI. Josh isn't much of a talker, FYI. So it could be like spring practice, and all of a sudden, like, hey, who's this new guy? And that's how we figure it out. I'm kidding, kind of, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I got to imagine things are going on behind the scenes, but with kind of the way we are in terms of our tight-lippedness and just where we are on the calendar, it may be some time before that trickles out. It'll probably be one of those things that starts the rumor circulation stuff, particularly if other coaches, I guess where we might figure this out, Mike, is if other coaches are trying, or there's rumors about Randy joining a new coach's staff. So if another coach gets a new job and they're looking for defensive staff, and you start hearing Randy's name, that might be really the first telltale sign that that Randy is indeed not returning to UCF.
I expect just a press release on a Tuesday afternoon, maybe just out of nowhere, maybe during the holiday week. This is the perfect time. Just news dump it, or a late Friday, and nobody knows anything. It's just Randy Shannon is no longer on the staff, or Randy Shannon has been hired as defensive coordinator somewhere else.
Right.
And do we want to wait for him to be hired somewhere else before we announce our new guy? I don't know how the whole thing's going to work. Heupel's got to be on the phone with somebody. If he already knows he's gone, he's got to start working the phones now. Who he wants? Why do we have to react to guys plucking from us? Why can't we go out and start plucking people somewhere else?
That was plucking, in case you guys didn't hear it. But yeah, that's a fair question, Mike. And I hope Heupel's on the phone right now. I hope he's getting those rollover minutes, fired up, and he's calling around to some of these schools that have, maybe had some turbulence or some upside down coaching staff changes, and he's trying to figure out who's out there. He's trying to find somebody. Again, that's another really curious decision, because I don't know what Heupel's defensive philosophy is. Because I don't, he's never necessarily tipped his hand along that kind of stuff. You don't really know. I mean, he's been an offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, at Utah State, and Missouri, where he really had nothing to do with the offense, or the defense rather. And even kind of here, it was sort of an arranged marriage between him and Randy Shannon. So what is he even looking for in a D coordinator? I think it would be really, really interesting to figure it out.
I wonder if he's just promote one of the guys that are on staff now, someone like a Shane Burnham, somebody he brought in originally. I think it'd be wise to keep Corey Bell or Martinez. I think those guys at least have Miami ties, and they can still recruit. That's the other thing he's got to look into, somebody that can recruit this Florida area, something that we haven't done well. And Shannon was our biggest Florida recruiter, especially getting guys from Miami. So if he's going to be gone, we need somebody to fill that role.
Well, I think Corey Bell is a Shannon guy too, so might be one of those things where if Shannon goes, Corey wants to go with him. Same thing with Willie. I think him and obviously he played at Miami. Randy obviously played at Miami, so there's obviously a connection there. So we'll see. I guess the short news is there is no news, and a lot of people are waiting around trying to figure out when that news might break. And as of right now, there's not even really a ton of speculation out there. Usually at this time of year, there's a list has been circulating, or someone ran into somebody at a local Tijuana Flats or something like that. But even that hasn't broke loose. So we'll keep you updated as much as we can hear on that stuff. But I guess if you had to bet, Mike, would you also think that this is Randy's last ride? This was his last year?
Yeah, I would think so. Now, another thing you would think of, is it possible if somebody comes and takes Heupel? You think that's even remotely possible after this season?
I doubt it, man.
We talk about his buyout has dropped now. Just some team that likes the way he runs the offense. Maybe, I don't know. Well,
it's interesting, right? There's not a lot of openings left right now. A lot of those are getting filled. Boise now pops back open because the Boise coach went to Auburn. But a lot of those openings are getting filled, and they're getting filled with coordinator type guys, right? So. But it's a fair question, but it's also you got to wonder, what is Heupel looking for in terms of an upgrade? Like I could see a Vanderbilt who hired I think Clark Lay, the D coordinator from Notre Dame, took the Vanderbilt job, right? But you look at a school like a Vanderbilt. I'm just using that for an example. They were open for a minute there. They haven't had. I don't think they've scored a touchdown in years, right? So if you tell Vanderbilt fans we're going to bring this high powered, like high flying offense, blah blah blah, Heupel probably seems like a really attractive candidate to schools like that have had such a hard time offensively, can never seem to get things working, and they're going to bring in the guy who averaged 43 points a game and runs this great system. I could see a scenario where there's a school out there who's like, man, I just need butts and seats. I took a huge hit this year with COVID. We're going to get fans in the stands. I need them excited. I need them excited about offense. And you take a kind of an also-ran school like a Vanderbilt, or Arizona was an option there for a few minutes. That got filled with Jed Fish. And you I could see you connecting the dots as an AD going, I need excitement here. Who can I call? And maybe giving Heupel a buzz. But it looks like some of those jobs have just been closing up. So it would kind of be the next wave of guys replacing those guys that potentially would be the thing. But then of those jobs, are they more attractive than UCF? I think that's what you'd have to kind of figure out or understand.
Right. There's even some of the P5 jobs. We are a better opportunity for him because he can still win here. He still can have another good year next year, and then maybe take a mid-tier SEC job like Arkansas or something like that, and make some good money. Yeah, but I don't think he's going anywhere either. I just figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, I mean, never say never, right? I mean, these things happen. Brian Harsin, who has been at BYU for a long time, all of a sudden he up and out of nowhere, leaves to go to Auburn. I don't think a lot of people saw that coming. And I don't think Heupel's going to Boise, but I mean, that's how quickly this kind of stuff can turn, right? It's kind of a surprising name comes out of nowhere. So we'll see what that looks like. But right now I think we're probably safe with Heupel. Whether or not that's a good thing for you or not, I don't know. But I think we're probably safe with Heupel at this point.
Yeah, anything can happen, man. These coaches, the coaching carousel changes. I don't think this year as much as normal years because of COVID, and teams are not going to be looking to just buy out contracts. So for that reason, he'll be here.
I did read an interesting article, though, about a lot of college coaches might start considering NFL style jobs simply because of all the different changes coming to college football. And it was Pete Thamel from Yahoo, and he made a really interesting point about how, with the new sort of freedom of movement rule that, that kids can leave and without any penalty. If you're a college coach, not only now do you have to go out and recruit and kind of ask, 17, 8-year-old kids to come to your college and your university and tell them that you're great and they're going to be great for you. Well, now you got to keep re-recruiting the guys on your roster to make sure that they don't leave, right? So you got to keep the current, guys happy, make sure they don't go anywhere. You got to get the new guys. And then obviously you add in the NLI stuff and, our school's going to be asked about, hey, what's your marketing look like? What are your local car dealerships? Is it going to add an additional wrinkled into the job of a college coach? And if that's the case, would a lot of college coaches then say, hey, if I can get to the NFL, maybe I want to do that? So I guess that would be the other round or the other wave that you would have to consider is, would a college guy jump to the NFL? My only thinking with that would be they'd probably be a pretty prominent college coach. So I don't know if they would want to go after a Josh Heupel, right? You're looking at like a Pat Fitzgerald from Northwestern is always mentioned. Dan Mullen from Florida is mentioned. James Franklin from Penn State. Those are probably the echelon of guys who maybe get NFL looks. But I guess in theory, one of those could pop open late as well, and maybe Hype keeps himself on someone's short list for that.
Well, he wouldn't be going to the NFL to be a head coach. Maybe you're talking about a coordinator.
Well, no, I'm talking about replacing a guy who goes to take an NFL job.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
if Pat Fitzgerald says, hey, you know what? Yeah, I do want to go coach the Bears. I'm out of here. Is Northwestern, who has, I think they score 14 points a game for the past like 10 years. Do they go, hey, let's muck it up here. Let's get some high flying offense. Again, I highly doubt it, by the way, but does Penn State say, hey, who can keep this offense running? What about this Heupel guy from UCF? If James Franklin leaves, I think that would be the next wave. But I would think that those jobs would probably be jobs that you can attract some higher profile names than Josh Heupel. No offense. Not that he's listening to be offended.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to Florida to replace Dan Mullen. I don't think they'd be coming after him. So I think he's here for at least one more year.
Well,
fair enough.
What is also interesting, Mike, is the transfer portal is blowing up these days. There are so many kids in the transfer portal, so many options. I think UCF will have a lot of interesting decisions to make with some of these guys, but some of the guys that we have now lost in the portal have found some new homes. Mike wants to run through these quickly in case you guys have not heard this yet. Darryl Mack Jr. has decided to stay at home and go to Old Dominion University. He will be, he says he has 2 years left as a grad transfer. So DJ Mack going to Old Dominion. Kenny Tounier ended up at TCU. And I think this is already kind of mentioned, but Randy Charlton ended up at Mississippi State. So a few guys have found some new spots, Mike. Obviously wish them all the best. Darryl Mack going to Old Dominion is interesting. Obviously gets him close to home. But so at least some new Knights are finding some new homes.
Yeah, Darryl Mack one was interesting. Not shocking, going back to where you came from. And they're in Conference USA, right? He can do some damage over there against those defenses.
Yep.
And maybe win a conference, get his name back out there. He's one of the guys that has the measurables. If he can put his passing game together with his size and his speed and all that, he may be an NFL product.
Yeah.
And the other guys, good for them. They found good schools to go to. They didn't drop down to Division II or whatever it was because they got kicked off the team here. So they still have their opportunity to make the name for themselves.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. We'll have basically three guys who are in our quarterback room 1 year ago will potentially be starting for college programs next season, right? With KZ in Florida State, with Mac at Old Dominion, obviously with Dylan here at UCF. You toss in Noah Vedral, who was 2 years prior to all that stuff. He's been starting at Rutgers. Who knows what happens with Quadri if he stays around? It could be really interesting. Like you have 5 guys in the last 3 seasons who are all starting at different D1 college football programs. It could certainly be interesting. Or bodes well, for at least for the quarterback room at UCF.
And say what you want about Frost. We brought most of those guys in here. I guess he knows something about recruiting quarterbacks. But yeah, it just shows how lucky we've been over the last few years to have that group of quarterbacks in one room. A lot of talent in there. And who's to say how good this Parker Navarro is and Mikey Keene? These guys may be starters someday too. So it's college football. You're only as good as your quarterback. If you don't have a starting quarterback, you're pretty much nothing. So we've been lucky now to have this run of good quarterbacks. We've had some runs without great quarterbacks too, and we saw where that got us.
We certainly have seen where that has gotten us. So that's the football news. Not a lot of it, unfortunately, going on right now, but maybe as the holiday subsides, we'll have some more details on that. So we'll stay close to all that and keep you guys as updated as we can. But we're going to try something different after this break here. We're going to do a little either or. So we'll have some fun with this topic, either or, coming up next on the Sons UCF.
This is UCF head coach Josh Heupel, and I go 1-0 every week with my guys Adam and Mike on the Sons of UCF. Charge on, go Knights.
All right, it's a new game. You know I love my games around here, Mike. I always have a new twist on a new game somehow. We've done a bunch of these, and they're pretty much all the same game, just a different name. This one's called Either Or. And so what this is, pretty simple. I'm going to give you 2 things, Mike, and you tell me which one of those 2 things you want. Would you either have this or that? It's actually really self-explanatory, but we got a lot of fun topics here. I got like 8 or 9 of these for you here, so I'm going to rattle these off for you, man. So are you ready for either or?
Sure, let's try it.
We're going to start off with, you've been mentioning defensive coordinators, and obviously Randy Shannon is the current defensive coordinator, but we've had a bunch of defensive coordinators in our past, and we've had a bunch of offensive coordinators, and some more memorable than others, Mike. So either or, if you could only have one of these coordinators, you had to take one back right now for your team, would you either have Eric Chinander or Brent Key? So those who don't know Brent Key, former offensive coordinator, he was the OC in that 2015 season. Obviously, we didn't win a game there, Mike. So you got to take one back right now. We have an offensive opening. We have a defensive opening. You can either have Eric Chinander or Brent Key. Who are you taking?
Yeah, I guess I got to go with Key.
Ooh, okay.
Process of elimination. Key's working for Alabama right now, right? At least maybe he
Georgia Tech now. He's at Georgia Tech.
Okay, but he was with
Yep.
He was with Saban for a little while. Maybe he picked up some new tricks along the way. Maybe he made some recruiting connections because of that with some big time schools. And he was part of the winning program for a long time down here with O'Leary. So at least he knows the school. He's familiar. Chinander was here for 2 years, and you know how everybody feels about Chinander. For as much as they get on Randy Shannon now, they got on him twice as much. He was the only good thing about Chinander was he seemed like he related to the players well. He looked like he was a good guy to do those hype videos. Every time they did a night flicks, they showed his halftime speech or his pregame speech, and guys seemed to love him and stuff. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'd go with Key.
Well, hold on. So if you can only retain one coordinator, do you want Randy Shannon or do you want Eric Chinander?
Take Randy Shannon.
Okay. Just had to check your pulse on that one. Here's the next one for you. So we have an interesting situation here. Probably 2 of our best players on our 2 kind of major men's sports both have the initials DG. There's Dylan Gabriel and there's Darren Green Jr. for the basketball team. 3 years from now, Mike, so 3 years from today, who would you rather be, Dylan Gabriel or Darren Green?
Oh, 3 years from now.
3 years from now.
Well, I think that Dylan Gabriel is going to set basically every passing record we have.
Okay.
As long as he stays healthy and does what he's done the last 2 years. And he's got a chance to do a lot more winning, and football is the bigger sport between the two, especially at UCF. But you're talking 3 years from now. Are you telling me Darren Green's in the NBA? Because if that's the case, then Darren Green.
That's what I'm asking you. Where do you project these guys will be, right? So let's lay out the case for both. Dylan Gabriel, actually his rights, I think I saw this recently, his rights were retained by a Canadian Football League team. So there's maybe a pro afterlife for him. Obviously, he'll probably have a much more prolific UCF career than Darren Green. I don't think that's going on a limb. But you add a guy like Darren Green now, guys in the NBA who can shoot, they stay around forever. But then you have Matt Williams, who, was probably the best shooter in UCF history, got a cup of coffee in the league and didn't stick around for very long. So do you give, Darren Green a crack at getting on a roster someplace and making a name for himself? Some of our better players, BJ Taylor, Robbie Dawkins, they're not even sniffing the NBA right now. So it seems like a really tough road. But, Gabriel, 5'10", 5'11", kind of running a gimmick offense. Is that going to get him draftable? So it's a tough call if you think about it.
The NBA is definitely the harder of the two leagues to get into. If Gabriel puts up big numbers like he's done, I think somebody will give him a shot, whether it's a late round pick. And it's still not bad to hold the clipboard in the NFL for 10 years. It's a nice career to have. You don't get hurt. You make a lot of money. And you're on an NFL team. I'll take Dylan Gabriel. I talk myself into it.
All
Just because I think the NBA is so much harder.
Yeah.
To break through.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we have we have Dexter Lyons on the show with us here coming up, right? Dexter's had a really good career overseas. And maybe that's Darren Green's career, right? So are you Dylan Gabriel, who, in 3 years is, the B team of a Canadian Football League, or do you have, Darren Green, who is, the starting small forward of a club team in Greece, right? Like who's better there? I guess I don't know, but it will be interesting to see kind of where that shakes out.
Well, if Gabriel can have a nice career in the Canadian League and be like a Doug Flutie type guy, that's not bad either. Canadians make some pretty good money in that league too, I think.
Way to go, Canadians. Okay.
Look at William Stanback's having a nice career out there, I think.
Yeah, he just re-signed, actually, I think, with Montreal. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm going to flag this, and we'll see where this kind of shakes out. I think the DG versus DG argument is kind of fascinating to think about. Next one for you. So there's been some rumors that our good friends up in the blue turf, Boise State, have had some dialogue with the American Conference about joining up. Obviously, they're displeased with the Mountain West, and there have been some issues there. Obviously, there's been a bunch of teams that have been bandied about in the past about joining the American Conference, particularly after UConn left. So, Mike, if I told you could only have one of these teams join the American Conference, would you rather have Boise State or Army?
Both of them are for football only, I'm guessing?
Probably, yeah.
I guess I'd take Boise State just because they are the brand, and it's the G5 team that everybody knows. And if you put them in there with us and Cincinnati and Memphis, I think by far we are the best of the G4, G5 conferences, and basically in line for the New Year's Six every year. And maybe with adding them, we're still getting talk now of how good the conference is, better than the Pac-12 and better than the Big 12. Adding Boise, I think, may bump us over one of them. I know we're not going to crack that level because of all the money involved and all that stuff, but it would make us by far the best conference. Adding Army would be cool because of the Army-Navy thing, but what are they really bringing football-wise?
Well, they're not a bad team. I think they're. I don't know how many games they won this year. I mean, they won a handful of games this year. I mean, they're not a bad football team.
No, they're not bad. In the last couple of years, they're not bad, but they were really bad for a long time. They've been more respectable the last couple of years. Boise has been very respectable, very good now for 20 years. They put together a nice stretch. They haven't been undefeated in a while. They haven't had one or two lost seasons, but they've been very good. They're at the top of the Mountain West every single year. So I think. And plus, I think the blue field helps them. People know Boise. It's a brand. They built up that brand now for a while. Whereas Army, when do you watch Army? You watch them once a year against Navy, and basically that's it, right?
I mean, they're a 9-win team. Like Their two losses, they lost to Cincinnati by 14, 24-10. They lost actually pretty badly to Tulane, 38-12 as well. But would you want a team, so working off the premise that maybe Army is a quote-unquote easier team to play than Boise, would you want an easier team in your conference or a harder team in your conference? Would you want a team like Boise who, in theory, could get in our way every year because we'd have to go through them to get to that New Year's Six Bowl or get to a conference championship game? Would you want an Army where maybe they're not as formidable an opponent, but it continues to give us I guess an easier quote unquote path to a conference championship?
No, I'd rather the better team. If we can't beat Boise every year or every other year, then we don't deserve to be in the bigger game. If we can't beat them, then who's to say we're going to beat teams like Oklahoma and Texas and Florida? No. So that's fine with me. Plus, if they join, they'd be on. Yeah, I assume we go back to divisions again. They'd be in the West for sure, and we'd play them every other year. We're rotating 2 years on, 2 years off kind of deal, and we played them in championship games. And it'd be a cool rivalry. And we're starting to see it this year coming up. We've got a couple games scheduled with them. I think it's going to be a fun rivalry between those guys.
All right, fair enough. All right, next one for you. Here you go. We talked about recruiting. I know you love recruiting, Mike. Would you rather have a 2-year starter on defense at a P5 school transfer to UCF or a 5-star recruit also on defense?
5-star recruit. 5-star recruit.
Okay.
For sure. We've never had a 5-star recruit on defense. I don't know if we've ever had a 5-star recruit ever, unless you want to consider Dante. But I don't think they had stars back then.
Nope.
So, yeah, a 5-star recruit is something we've been looking for forever. Transfers, they're nice. Sometimes they're really good.
2-year starter at a P5 school. So think about like an Aaron Robinson type of guy.
Right. Yeah. Still, I like having my own guys. I like developing and having them for 4 years. You're telling me he's a 5-star. That means he's gonna obviously supposed to be really good. So, and plus, you never know though. There's been plenty of 5-star busts before, but then same thing with recruits. We've had transfers. We've had guys transfer over that were supposed to be great. I think I've said his name before on here. There was a receiver from Notre Dame many years ago, Richard Jackson. I think he was a 4-star guy. He came over and he was supposed to have the greatest hands in the world. I don't think he caught a pass for us. Maybe he caught 1 or 2. And we've had a bunch of those. We've had a bunch of guys come over from P5 schools and not do much. Who was the defensive lineman from Indiana a couple years ago? Ended up leaving.
Brandon Wilson.
Yeah, he had the offsides against Pittsburgh that cost us basically on that 4th down. And so it doesn't always work out. Just because you come from a P5 school doesn't mean much to me. I'd much rather the 5-star guy, especially since we haven't had one.
All right, switching back to basketball for a second then. Would you rather have either or Taco Fall's height or Matt Williams' shooting?
Ooh, well, Taco. If you're a basketball player, Taco's still in the league, right?
He is. Yep.
Is he on the roster with?
He's like in that flex spot where he can kind of go back and forth between their G League affiliate.
Right. So, and fame-wise, I mean, being the tallest guy there is, that can't hurt, especially with sponsorships and things like that. So I think I'd definitely take the Taco thing.
What about for your team? What about for your team? What if I told you that we had one spot left, we had 2 recruits, one was a 7'7", big man, and one was a sharp shooting guy, and again, essentially it's Taco's height or Matt Williams' stroke. For your team, not you personally, for your team, which guy would you want?
I still think I'd take Taco because we saw the way he just changed the whole dynamic of the game, how other teams approach us, how they couldn't drive to the hoop. You got a 7'6" guy standing there in the middle. It changed everything. And then if that guy can develop the way Taco was developing and become a force rebounding and down in the low post, I think basketball has always been about tall guys. I know the traditional center has kind of gone away in the NBA the last few years and even in college. But there's something to me about that big guy in the middle turning the game around on offense and defense.
Yeah, give me Matt Williams all day. I'd rather have the stroke. That's where the NBA is at right now. It's Steph Curry. It's not, it's not some 6'10" guy, but both good choices. Let's go back to football for a second. Obviously, our 2021 schedule is in the books. We have a cool couple of road games coming up in a few years with BYU, Boise on the schedule. But Mike, if you could only have one road game scheduled, and which of these areas would you rather go on a UCF road trip to? So just the road trip itself, maybe the team, we don't know how they'll be. This is a 2024 game, so we have no idea how good the team will be. Would you rather have a road game at Notre Dame or at USC?
Ooh. Just tradition, all that stuff. Notre Dame. I take Notre Dame.
Okay.
The touchdown Jesus, the Rudy, and wake up the echoes, and all that. To me, it's cool. Even though USC is a pretty storied program themselves, and you're going to LA. The trip itself, I guess, with Notre Dame, how far is it from Chicago? It's not far, right?
No, not far.
Make a nice little trip out of it. Maybe go catch a Cubs game, depending on when it is, or go to Soldier Field for a game, do a doubleheader like that. I've never been to either. I've never been to California at all. I've never been up to Indiana or Chicago, that area either. So I think just tradition-wise, the name Notre Dame to me, I think would be a really cool trip.
As I was making the either or for this, I was trying to think of the second most iconic stadium. What is that? I couldn't think of another. USC is what came to mind. Is there another one that you would put against Notre Dame that you would say, hey, that's an iconic kind of bucket list place that you'd want to go from a college football venue standpoint?
Well, I think UCF fans have been to them. They've been to the Horseshoe in Ohio State. They've been to the Big House in Michigan.
Yep.
Those are two of the bigger ones.
I guess, sorry. I was thinking places we haven't been yet.
Right. Okay. People we talked about, who were we talking to a couple weeks ago? We talked about a night game at LSU.
Yeah.
That's
Andrew Adelson. Yep.
Those are the big story programs. We've been to all the other ones. We've been at Texas. I mean, I haven't gone to those games.
Sure.
But then for me with road trips is, what else am I doing on the trip?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just for the game. Like when I went to the BYU game, we went to Vegas for the next 3 days after that because we were going to be out that way. You're telling me I really don't have much interest in going to see the Boise game because what am I going to do in Idaho? It would be cool, I guess. Actually, the blue turf kind of bothers my eyes. I don't like watching games in Boise. But so I'm really not interested in making that trip myself. But you're telling me you're going to a cool city. Like I went up to the Boston College game, and Boston was a cool town to hang out in. So I had a great time up there. Cities like that I like. Cities where you're in the middle of nowhere, you're telling me you're going. That's why kind of LSU thing to me doesn't really turn me on either. Yeah, it's a cool thing for the game, but what am I doing in Baton Rouge for 2 nights? I don't have much interest in some of these SEC talents. I'm not going to Starkville or cities like that.
All right, Notre Dame it is for you then. All right, last one for you. So this is an ode to our guy Matt Wright, who was back active this week and was kicking for the Pittsburgh Steelers, helped them with a come-from-behind victory against the Indianapolis Colts. So, Mike, you have one kicker in UCF history to tap on the shoulder and make a game winner for you. You can either pick between Matt Prater or Matt Wright. Pick your Matt, either or. Who do you want taking the game-winning kick for you?
Man, I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago.
You did. Oh, that's why it's on here, Mike.
I didn't really trust either of them, to be honest. Well, we know Prater missed a couple of extra points, the Hawaii Bowl, and then the game against Ohio in overtime. And Matt Wright, his one shot at a game winner, he had blocked against FIU to kick off the 2015 winless season. He had the 2 kicks in the Peach Bowl. One was blocked, one was missed, where we could have really put that game away. You're talking about Matt Prater today or Matt Prater when he was in college?
Let's do Matt Prater today. Let's do right now today.
Then I think I got to take Prater.
Okay.
He's hit some big-time kicks for the Lions. I know the Lions have been terrible for his whole career. But he's kicked a bunch of 50-yarders, a bunch of game winners, and he's got more experience. I'd have to go with Prater.
What about in college then?
Sean Moffitt.
Not a picture, but I actually had him written down first, but I knew you'd pick Moffitt, so I scratched him off because I knew you had a thing about kickers. So I figured I'd jam you up on Prater and Wright.
Sean Moffitt, I gotta say, is the one kicker that I had most confidence in. I don't even know how his numbers stacked up, just for some reason. Was it the way he celebrated? I guess Matt Wright had a cool celebration too. But I don't know. I guess in college, give me Wright.
Okay.
In professionals, so far, give me Prater.
All right. Well, those are my either ors. Did you have some that you want to run through, or are we good?
Yeah, I made up a few.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm ready.
All right. Some of these are tough ones.
Oh, Jesus.
All right. Next year, would you rather win the conference in football and lose to the Cows, or don't make the championship game again and beat the Cows for the 5th time in a row?
Don't make the championship game so I can win.
But we beat the Cows. This is kind of like this year. We don't make the championship game, but we beat the Cows again 5 years in a row. Or
you're telling me I just make the championship game or win the championship game?
No, win the championship game, but you have that loss to the Cows there at the end of the year.
Oh, I'm all about hanging chips then. Yeah, give me the chip then. Because even though I lost to the Cows, and they can still say, "Oh, we beat you guys," I can just hold up my trophy, which they know nothing about. So I'd rather hold up the trophy and get to New Year's Six game and maybe muck some things up there. So give me I'll take the L if I can get the conference W.
I know, but that would be so rough. What if that's our only loss of the year? And that'd probably knock us out of a New Year's Six, something like that. But we still win the American. But losing to the Cows, that's a tough one, man.
Yeah.
I don't even know how I'd go. I want to say I'd pick the conference championship too, but man, we haven't lost to them in so long. I don't remember what it feels like.
And next year is the year we can take the series lead too. So that's the other factor
right.
I was trying to put into there was like, man, I could. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
we would never have the lead against them.
Yeah.
We tied, and that was it.
Yeah, give me the conference.
I know, right? It's a tough one.
Yeah, I can hang a trophy up. They have nothing to do there.
That's true. All right. Would you rather, or either the basketball team make it to the Sweet 16 this year, or baseball team wins the College World Series?
That's tough. I'm more likely to watch the NCAA tournament. So if you're telling me I can get my team to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, I'm like that dog barking in the background. I'm probably all in on that, Mike. I would take that. And as much as I'd want the chip in baseball, is it even on TV? I guess it is in the end.
Yeah.
This is more just preference for me because I like basketball more than baseball. So I'd probably say give me the Sweet 16 just because it'd be a cool experience.
Yeah, getting to the Sweet 16 is huge. I think that's what we've been waiting. First, we went so long without getting a win in the tournament. We finally got that. We almost made it last year. And you figure getting to the Sweet 16 means you beat a pretty good team, right? Depending on what we're ranked or what our seed is. We probably at least beat a top 5 seed team, right? I think we'd have to get that far. But I think I go with winning the whole thing.
Well, here's the thing.
Like you said basketball is always your thing.
This is a tough question, though, by the way, because I know so 2020 didn't exist, right? Who won the College World Series in 2019?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you who was in the Sweet 16 in basketball. I'm a bad guy to ask.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, it's also 2 years ago now at this point. But like, I know Virginia, I think it was Virginia won the 2019 NCAA basketball tournament, right? But no, do people remember the baseball? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. I remember as a kid watching the College World Series, watching the Hurricanes with the Charles Johnson team. I remember Cal State Fullerton and Phil Nevin and those guys, Pepperdine, those teams. That's something I always watched as a kid. And it would be cool just to make the College World Series, but to win it all, I think we'd really get into it. If once we won the regional one.
Sure.
First of all, we never won a regional, so that would be cool. Then to win a super regional, probably against like a Florida or a Florida, I think the whole run would be awesome. And I think a lot of UCF fans would get behind that team. And then it's just a national championship. It's another sport and say, hey, we won the whole thing. And I think that's the difference maker, winning the College World Series, not just getting to the College World Series, but winning it.
That's fair. I mean, I think the only thing I remember at College World Series is Warren Morris. Outside of that, I feel like I guess to me it would be like the Olympics, right? Like every time the Olympics come on, I could give a rat's ass about men's indoor beach volleyball or whatever the hell it is, right? Until we're in the gold medal game, and I'm like, oh, I'm all about it. I'm draping the flag. So I would probably be in the same boat if we got to the to the final round of the College World Series. I'd be all about it too. But if I had to pick one, I would go Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think it was Fresno State that won the whole thing a few years ago, and they had a losing record in the regular season. Okay, how about this one? Would you rather make the college football playoff next year, but get blown out by Alabama in the first round, or go undefeated and win another New Year's Six game and claim another disputed national championship?
Man.
Breaking that glass ceiling of making the playoff and having that month of the lead up to the game against Alabama.
Yep, but it'll be the last time we ever get invited because they'll be like, see, they don't belong. So give me the undefeated season.
Yeah, I think so too. Plus, it just keeps that aura of we still haven't lost to Alabama. We still have that 1-0 against them. I think I'd go that way too.
Because no matter if it's UCF, Cincinnati, Memphis, Boise, whoever is the first team to break that ceiling and get in there, they have to put up a fight. Because if they get their doors blown off, we're not going to get the Oklahoma treatment where we get to go back every year and just keep getting blown out. Like that P5 school, up until they make any change here, is only going to get one chance. And if that team doesn't do well, that'll just be the end. We let Cincinnati in that one year and they got housed by Alabama. Like. But it's also not fair that Alabama and Clemson are the litmus test for this, right? Like, I mean, there are other teams out there that can't hang with those teams, right? It wouldn't just be a UCF, Cincinnati, Memphis thing. If you told me that we could play, another team, right? Like we could play, on Ohio State or Texas or something like, and maybe that's a little different. Then we wouldn't belong. But Alabama's such a tough one. But I'd rather not, Whoever gets there is just going to have to put up a respectable fight because if not, we're going to get shut out forever.
Well, what if I changed it to make the college football playoff and lose a close game, like a classic, maybe overtime game against Alabama?
I'd take that.
Or go undefeated.
Yeah, I'd be in on close game, lose at the buzzer by a field goal kind of situation. That would suck, but I would. Then we would at least prove we belong. We should play with the big boys. Yada yada yada. I think I would take that versus a blowout.
That'd be like the Duke basketball game times 10 against Alabama, double overtime, heartbreaker. Oh man, we'd have them beat. We'd be going over all the different plays of how we could have won that game in regulation. Oh man, but yeah, I mean, put us in there. That's what we've been begging for, right?
Yep.
All right, I got one final one. Would you rather make the NFL playoffs by winning the NFC East or get a top 8 draft pick? Because that's basically what the loser's going to get coming up this weekend. We're both in the same situation. Giants, Cowboys.
It's funny. A buddy of mine texted me. He's a Cowboys fan. He was like, "Hey, are we going to the playoffs?" And I was like, "I kind of don't want to, because if we get to the playoffs, we're just going to get our doors blown off. We're not any good, so we're just going to get our doors blown off, and then we're going to get even a worse pick." My problem is I don't trust the guys who's making the pick for me, so that would be the challenge. Like if you trust your GM and your front office, take the pick. But Jerry's going to pick another wide receiver, right? We're going to end up with like our 5th wide receiver in the last 6 years. So, in theory, I'd rather not get blown. I'd rather take the draft pick if I knew I had someone competent making the pick.
Yeah, for me, I'd take the playoff game. I mean, I know we're not going to go to the Super Bowl with this team, obviously, but it would give our coach, I'm looking at a Giants perspective, Judge and the quarterback Jones, a game of playoff experience, something they haven't been in yet, and whatever. We'll see how they react to it. And 2, like you just said, who knows who they're going to pick in the draft? You can take that number 8 pick and completely whiff on it. Or, and I saw coming in the Giants, it's possible for them to have the number 3 pick overall, right? They need like 5 other teams to lose. But if they had lost this week and the other games went their way, they can have as high as the number 3 pick or make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, and have the number 32 pick. It's the craziest thing ever because of the year that we're in right now, where a 6-10 team could win the division. But it's very possible. I mean, Washington can lose. Who's their quarterback even coming into the game against Philadelphia?
Alex
Smith.
They
just quit Blaine Haskins.
Yeah, Alex Smith if he's healthy. If not, Tyler Heineke is the starter.
So, I mean, I'd rather beat the Cowboys on the final week and get in. That's just me.
Well, that's the thing. Our teams are in different.
while.
We're in different trajectories, right? You guys are arrow pointing up, young team building for the future. You don't even have your best player, right? I think Saquon's your best player, I assume, right? You don't even have your best player right now, right? So you guys are trajectory arrow pointing up. The Cowboys are pointing down, right? We're an old team. We've got way too many salary cap issues. We still have the Dak Prescott injury plus the contract thing looming over our head. So we're an arrow pointing down. If I was you, yeah, I'd want to go to the playoffs too. To your point, you get that experience. Although another nice piece to that would actually maybe put you over the top, but Dallas is pointing down at this point. So just
Plus, we get to play Tom Brady in the first round. You know the history with the Giants and Tom Brady.
That's true.
I think it'd be a fun week. Who knows? We played them earlier in this season. It was a close game. They were 2-point conversion away from tying that game. I think give me that extra week. I haven't seen a Giants playoff game in a while. Plus, winning the division is always cool.
Well, that's either or, which you probably should have called "Would you rather," because that's actually how we actually asked every question versus either or. We're gonna do Dexter Lyons again. If you haven't heard this interview before, we'll take some questions from you first, then we'll do Dexter Lyons, and then stick around for the official unveiling of the UCF Mike dog name. All that and more. Sons of UCF coming right back.
The Suns have a new interview. Listen up.
All right, we'll get to Dexter Lyons in just 1 second. We put on a call for the questions on the social media at Suns UCF or at UCF Mike 1, and we got a handful, Mike. We've answered some of these, but we can run through these really quickly here. Let's see. Our good friend Black and Gold Ed wants to know, is Josh Heupel the most swag-less coach in college football? Anybody worse than him? So Ed thinks that Heupel has no swag, Mike.
In all of college football now, I mean, I couldn't even tell you 90 of the head coaches in college football.
Mac Brown? Does Mac Brown have more swag than Josh Heupel?
Yeah. I mean, you're talking about old guys. Like, did O'Leary have more swag than Heupel? I don't know.
Wow. Well, I mean, it depends how you define swag. O'Leary had an aura about him. You know what I mean? Like, whether you liked him or hated him, like, I feel like he had an aura about him when he walked in the living room. He was a straight shooter. He didn't mess around with mom and dad on the recruiting visits, right? Like, where Frost was just the opposite, like a tight schmedium, like which way to the gym kind of guy. And Heupel's probably somewhere in between, just with a much more dad bod.
You know what Heupel lacks that I think maybe is influencing this is like fire on the sidelines. When was the last time you saw Heupel just lace in a ref or a player? When did you ever see him yell at anybody? I don't think we've ever seen it. When was it?
Yeah, he's pretty.
Got the one moment where he
buttoned up,
did the arm flapping. But what else has he done?
Flapping's just funny. Yeah, other than that, no, you're right. He doesn't necessarily give you that fiery persona. You don't really see him the highs aren't too high, the lows aren't too low, which is probably the frustrating thing about him for a lot of people is that, you want him to react one way or the other and he just doesn't do it. So he's up there in terms of most swag. Well, here's the thing. He's got a high-powered offense, but, I don't know that he personally has that kind of swag. Here's what I was thinking about this week. Heupel is the ultimate funhouse mirror coach. You can look in the mirror and see anything you want about Heupel, and it's probably true. You can look in the mirror and say, this guy's a genius. Look at all the points he puts up. He's won all these games. How can we get rid of him? And you're right. You can look in that mirror and go, we can't win the close one. Our offense is a gimmick. We can't move the ball when we need to. And you're probably right. You can look in the mirror and go, hey, that's a coach who's respectable. He respects the media. He doesn't say anything stupid. Wants to keep everything close to the vest and be really good. You're right. You can look at him and go, hey, you know what? This guy has no passion, no power, no swag. And you're right, too. Josh Heupel is the ultimate funhouse mirror of a coach. Whatever you want to see in the mirror, Josh Heupel will show it to you.
Yes, it all depends on your perspective.
Yes.
But I think we'd all like to see him with a little more energy, I guess, on the sideline. He doesn't have to be jumping and chest bumping Dylan Gabriel after every touchdown or anything. Every once in a while, give a guy a nice smack on the ass on the way back in and say, get fired up after a touchdown. We don't really see that with him. Maybe yell at a ref, get into it with somebody. We haven't seen that with, O'Leary wasn't ever scared to get in somebody's face. That was always entertaining, at least.
He sure wasn't.
Even Frost, a couple of times, you saw him get angry at refs and yelling at people. He just seems, I guess that's kind of why people maybe when you act like that, it seems like you don't care as much. Even though I don't think that's true, but it's just perception.
All right, next is Mario Lonely Bee UCF. With a couple of quality losses, why isn't our basketball team in the top 5? I think he means top 25 maybe. We kind of talked about this earlier, Mike, but you would think that we would have had an opportunity to crack or get really close to the top 25 in men's hoops. Not there just yet. Although we do have quality losses. We have some quad 1 and quad 2 type losses on our schedule. So hopefully that, if we keep winning, we'll crack that relatively soon.
Yeah, it gets a little harder to crack into the basketball polls, but I mean, it's still so early in the season. You're talking about the teams that are ranked right now. There's only a couple of them that have multiple losses. Most of them, well, actually, that might not be true, but they're in big conferences. So nobody from the Americans is getting in with 2-3 losses this early in the year. The top teams are still undefeated. Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston, Tennessee. Those guys haven't lost yet. Missouri hasn't lost yet. If we were undefeated, if we were 5-0 right now, we'd definitely be in. Even if we won that game against Houston, we all think we would be in right now too. But right now we are at 41. We're tied with Boise State and Western Kentucky. Still a lot of schools to jump over. Like I said, we only have one guy giving us votes. If we go on another stretch here, we win the next 4 games, which would include Tulane, the Cows, the other game against Houston. We'd find our way in there. So still too many teams to jump for now.
All right, we got a couple
more. And the preseason plays a factor too. We weren't expected to be in. Just like football, we talk about it's stupid to even have preseason rankings because that makes it harder for us to get in.
A couple we've already answered here. Lynn Go Knights wants to know who we think will replace Shannon. Obviously, at this point, nobody really knows. Curious to see what Heupel's defensive philosophy looks like. Go Knights at Charge On 3. Will Dylan lead us to the promised land or just rack up stats without the hardware? That's a tough question. Obviously, he's going to be a stat stuffer, if you will. He's going to fill the stat sheet out. But I don't know that it's we talked about this last week when I asked that question, is Dylan Gabriel a good quarterback? And I think your answer was spot on, which was, yeah, he is. But, coaching is just as big a deal as his play as well. So I think it remains to be seen, how that'll work out. But he certainly will probably write a lot of records for us. Stan Clackety69 wants to know, has Paul Rubelt been the most underappreciated lineman for UCF?
He doesn't play as much. He doesn't play at all.
Yes, that's true.
He's very apprecited at Hooters. Remember when we saw that preseason picture? And looked like he was doing well for himself there.
That's all you need to know. Yeah, obviously.
With him with the new German coming in, they form a formidable line there.
I mean, you and I heard recently that some of these German kids can move pretty well. So maybe we, from someone who may know this kind of stuff. So maybe we got some diamonds in the rough here. We'll see if those guys ever pan out. Rubel at 6'10", though, seems like a really tall guy for a tackle, but what do I know?
During the Boca Bowl, and I went down to the sideline for a few minutes, and I saw these guys up close. He was a monster.
He's a mammoth, yes. He's a huge boy.
Yeah, he stood out.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Last one comes from Chris N99. She wants to know, when does the merch go online for all of us to buy?
Oh, well, I only have a few hats left. I have 5 hats left, but a couple of them are already spoken for. I haven't sent the one to the guy that won the pool. So I'm going to have to send him one. That puts me down to 4. I promised one to Trace. It puts me down to 3. So if I know supply and demand, how much can I actually sell these things for? 3 hats, it's a very limited quantity. How much are people willing to pay for them? You tell me.
It's a great question. Yeah. Listen, we'd love to do merch. It's going to require us to set up some sort of a website situation or merch store. Maybe we'll make a select few hats at some point in time, and we'll get those out there. I'm very much blown away by the response to the hats, Mike. Obviously, it's a really cool thing, and I think you and I were just like, hey, it'll be cool. We'll have a couple of these, hats like we had a couple of shirts, and but if people are interested, we'll figure it out for you. Well, I'm not saying we'll do it soon because we're pretty lazy, but we'll figure it out at some point.
If I have enough demand for them and people say they want them, I had to order 12 was the minimum when I first ordered them. So you tell me 20 people tell me right now they want to buy a hat, I'll have them made this week and then we'll sell them. I won't even make any money off them. Whatever I had to pay to buy them, and that'll be it. Unless I could make, I guess, a couple bucks each.
Well,
But yeah, if that's what people want, I'm all about making the people happy.
Well, so get at Mike at UCF Mike 1 on Twitter. If that's what people want, let Mike know. And Mike is he's all about making everybody happy, and he'll do we'll do what we can to make everyone's new year happy and bright and full of Sons of UCF hats. But we appreciate the questions as always. Thanks for taking the time to type those in for us. Now, a real treat, Mike. This is a March of 2019 conversation between us and former UCF basketball great Dexter Lyons. He's going to be the most entertaining thing you've heard all show long. So don't move. Dexter Lyons coming up right now. All right, well, look, the cavalcade of guests continues here in the Sons of UCF, and this guy is probably one of the most electric players that have ever stepped foot on the hardwood for the Knights. He's memorable for a few reasons, but if you saw this guy play, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And he's none other than former UCF great Dexter Lyons, who is joining us now on the Sons of UCF. Dexter, how are you?
Hey, doing well, man. I'm glad to be here, man. I'm glad to be here. Yes, sir.
Well, we're glad to have you on. So you obviously the Knight basketball program is making some waves right now and having some success. So you certainly played a large role in the birth of the basketball program, and you and your team specifically when you were at school there. So we're glad to have you on. But let's start with this question for you. So I know you came to UCF out of Daytona Beach Community College. So why UCF? Obviously, we weren't quite on the map yet as a school. I think we were just kind of up and coming. What made you decide to take a chance and come down to UCF and play ball?
Man, that was the funny thing is I didn't know what UCF was. There's no lie. We had an all-star game at Daytona Beach Community College at the end of the season. Kirk Spiro was probably the last person to speak with me. And he told me something that stuck in my mind. And he said, you rather be a small fish in a big pond or you want to be a big fish in a small pond? And he just walked away. I said, man, who is this guy? Like, this guy had the audacity to tell me something that I don't know anything about. And when I took my visit to Memphis and in Calipari, I knew I was going to sign. But on my way back from let's say on the flight coming back from Memphis to Daytona Beach, his memo stuck in my mind, and I said, let me call him up. And the rest is history. I'm originally from Central Florida, which is a small town called Bushnell, Florida, and then it's probably 45 minutes away. And I said, you know what? This will be the best thing ever, to be a big fish in a small pond. Let's do it. And there we go. We signed and got everything squared away.
Well, so you walked away from Calipari's. He's a smooth cat. Not many people get to the room with Calipari and say no. So you walked away from Calipari in Memphis to come down to UCF.
Absolutely, I did. I saw the squad that they had. They had DeJuan Wagner. They had a couple more guys, Anthony Rice. So they were loaded. And I said, you know what? That memo that Kirk Spiro really said to me, I said, okay, now I know what type of player I am. Now, can I be a role player, or do I want to lead a group of guys to the next promised land? And I said, this is a no-brainer.
Awesome.
And then UCF night, here I come.
So what was it like playing for Coach Spiro? So obviously, we've had some fiery coaches. Torchy Clark was fiery on the football side. We've got some names like George and Frost and Heupel, but not many people know about Coach Spiro and his kind of personality. Was he a tough coach? Was he a player's coach? What was it like to play for him?
He was all of the above. I mean, I love the guy. I mean, he was more of a mental. He was like more of a father figure to some guys. I consider him as more of like my best friend because he literally designed things around me. And not to sound real arrogant, at the same time, he saw something. And but at the same time, he was a fiery coach. I saw him dive on the ground for a loose ball in practice because nobody wouldn't get on the floor. He said, this is how you get on the floor for a loose ball, and dove. Everybody in there said, what in the world? And I knew right there me and him was going to click because I love a coach that gets after it, and that's the type of player I am.
Yeah, I love that. You don't hear too many Coach Spiro stories.
No,
That was
no,
awesome.
he's a forgotten dinosaur. I like to call him.
Another forgotten dinosaur, the old arena that we used to play in.
Oh man,
It's called the Venue now for the kids that are listening. That's what
venue.
they play the volleyball. Yeah, the volleyball teams play there. It's still attached to the back of the new arena.
Wow. See, I haven't been down there in like ages.
No?
We took a family vacation. I want to say in 2000 and I want to say 11. That was the last time I've been down there. I'm so busy. Oh my goodness. But I stay in contact with everyone. But I would love to see the place. Josh Peppers always chit chats about it, take picture. Mike, all the guys they send pictures or whatnot. But I haven't been down, which I'm ashamed of.
Yeah, well, you got to get back there this year then. Football
Absolutely.
game. Come down for a football game. You're not far, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm coming.
Oh, Atlanta.
Yeah.
All right.
Ain't that far, right? 6-hour drive.
That's a quick flight, man. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So back to that arena. What was the biggest crowd you think we played in front of when we were there? In your games.
I would say we had 14 games in a row going, trying to make it 15, and we played, which will be the conference champions. That's their regular season, Troy State. I think we pulled in. It was a packed house plus some. You had a lot of NBA GMs in there, coaches in there. If I have to give you, I'll forget how much it seats, but that
place only holds like 2,500, something like that.
I guarantee it was easily 35 plus. I don't know how they were in there. It was 35 plus. It was so hot. It felt like Orlando in June and July mixed together.
Yeah, it might have been. Actually, it might have held like 5,000. I might be wrong on that. But yeah.
It felt like the place was just packed to wall.
Yeah,
Very small, compact.
I can do some research for you. So according to Wikipedia, the capacity at that time was 5,100 people, 5,000 people.
All right, 51. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Wow.
So there was probably like 5,500 people in that place. Then you're saying it was packed.
Yeah, it was packed. You guys just found out that information. To me, it felt like so much people in there, but it was rocking, and that game was a nail biter. So that was probably like the biggest packed out game. Senior night was packed, but we played Gardner Webber. The score was like 105 to 56. So it was a horrible game for them.
There was one. Was that not the same Troy game where you had your triple double? Was it?
No, that was the same year, but that was the week before that. Now that was another game that they shook the rim in their gym. I said, okay, wait till y'all come back over here. We got something for you. So, but yeah, man, there was some great days and great nights in that gym. We practiced in that gym. Oh man, I loved it, man. You had the Rowdy Knights, you had the Lions Den, you had the Kirk Jerks. Man, you had the student body was probably, I say it's kind of like it is now for football and then now for basketball. I think we had the best one. We had the best crowd ever.
Yeah, it was a fun time. That was us. I mean, we were there.
Yeah,
actually, we graduated right before you started. So yeah, it was right around that time.
Oh wow.
So yeah, I remember coming back up there to watch the games.
Oh my goodness.
But
yeah.
During that triple double game,
uh-huh.
Did you know you had it, or did you know you needed this and that, or it just kind of happened and you've heard about it later?
It just kind of happened. I knew in the first half, and I was giving a lot of assists because they were double teaming, and halftime I knew I was scoring, but I did not know that I was rebounding the way I was. And then it was a close game, like I say, and at the end of the game, I think my assistant coach Craig Brown said, "Hey, young fella, way to get that triple dub." At that time, I didn't know what a triple double was. I didn't care nothing about no stats. I was excited we got a win on the road in Troy. That's hard to do. And I took the stat sheet home that day, and I didn't know what I did. I think that was history in UCF history.
Yeah, Adam just told me that. I couldn't believe it. He said that was the first triple-double in UCF history.
To this day, I still think that's still a dream. I don't think that really happened.
Do you know how many more there have been since then?
I have
Or if
not.
any?
I know Kingsley Edward the following year ended up having a triple double as well because he told me, he called me, said, "Hey, big brother, hey, I'm number two." I said, "Number two, what?" He said, "I hit a triple double." Dude, I think I probably like almost cried on there with joy. Oh my goodness. I didn't know anything about triple double. I'm just a guy that liked to play basketball.
Well, yeah, you're still the first. They can't take that from you. So,
Wow.
But so you had a good junior year, right? I think you averaged 9 and 5. But your senior year, I mean, you more than doubled your scoring. By the way, you happened to be the conference defensive player of the year. You were just in a zone that entire year. What do you think changed for you from your junior season to your senior season?
Wow, you're the first person that ever asked me that question.
All right, we can stop the interview now. Then I guess I've done my job.
I think the momentum was shifted. Kurt Spiro told me my junior year he wanted to bring me off the first man off the bench as the sixth man because of the energy I brought, and also they had too many seniors at the time, and he didn't feel that in order to have his seniors to perform, he wanted to continue to have them start. And I said, you know what, Coach, hey, I'm here. You brought me here. I'm just excited to be here. Of course, I accept anything you got me. But I think the third game in, one of the players got into some issues and then caused me to start. Well, I was still stuck on six-man, come in, energized. And the end of the season, I said, you know what? This is going to be my team. We got a bunch of junior college transfers. I am the one to show them exactly how to get it. So I said, okay, let me be first in everything. First to wake up, first to get in the gym, first to get dressed, first in the line, first in drills. First, I was just so competitive trying to be first that I didn't know that I was pushing those guys as well because they was coming in thinking, I'm going to beat out this guy here with this afro. Little did they know they had something coming.
The one thing I respect most about your game, Dexter, is like you took pride in the defensive end. A lot of guys, they can shoot. I mean, they can take it to the hole. But you took pride in being a defensive player. Where did that mindset come from for you?
Oh man, that's it goes back from middle school and high school with me. We had some coaches that doing conditioning and I guess they call it nowadays tryouts. We did not touch a basketball. We did not touch a basketball. And he said, hey, if you guys can play defense and lock in without a basketball, and this is the guys that he knew that was going to start and knew was going to make the team, he let the guys that were trying out play against us. Every time they would, let's say, get on defense, he would give them the ball back, and we played defense. In high school, literally, we held people to 44 points in high school. So, and these are the guys I grew up with from elementary school. And that mindset of I'm going to stop you and then I'm going to turn around and dunk on you, that mindset came from there. My high school coaches, Lewis Wilson, also Kimmy and Turner, and also the middle school was let me see, which is crazy, is my next door neighbor is Kermit Foster. Those guys instilled something in me I didn't think is non-existent to this day. Defense playing. So I just loved it from an early age. Is locking the guy down, watching Detroit Piston basketball. That said something. That said, man, if we can lock in together, we can accomplish something that nobody else is going to take away from us. This means shutting people down. So definitely back in the day, my early adolescence brought me to the defensive person that I am.
Well, that same year, so you were also the MVP of the conference tournament, which sealed the deal for us and punched the ticket to the big dance. So take us on the floor with you, Dexter, when that clock struck 0 and you realized that you were going to the tournament. What emotions did you have?
Oh my goodness. Haven't been to the tournament. I see they gave me some history beforehand, and I knew that we haven't been to the tournament, I think, since 95 or 96.
Yeah, 96.
Yeah, 96. So it was pressure that I wanted, because I said I want to be remembered. So during the whole game, I'm seeing my mom and my brother in the stands who made the drive from Atlanta to Tennessee and Knoxville. And I'm thinking, like, I cannot let them down. I cannot let these guys on the bench down. And I can't let down the walk-ons who rebound for me, who just gave me a ride any place I wanted to go, like Walmart or something like that. I cannot let them guys down. So as that clock struck 0, when I tell you I was oh my goodness, that it's no joy can explain that feeling as that clock struck. And they said, I heard Mark that, we're going to the dance. We're going to the dance. I threw the basketball up. I should have kept it. I thought about it. I should have ran over and gave it to my mother or my brother to keep. And man, I started crying right away, because we've done something in history which I think I got snubbed. I should have been MVP of regular season too, but God has his plans for a reason. It gave me that fire that I needed for the conference tournament.
Yeah, that was awesome, man. When you guys made the dance, for us, that was the first time as UCF fans watching us go to the dance, because in 96 we were still in high school. I didn't even go to UCF yet. So that was my first time. It was awesome, man. And the game itself, we were right there. We were in that game the whole time. I drove back up there to Orlando and I watched it at the Wing Shack. Man, I was so pumped up for that game. And Pittsburgh, I mean, what was the score? We were down at 2 minutes to go. We were right in it.
We were down 4. Down 4.
And we turned it over, right?
Oh my goodness! I just hit a 3, and I felt it. I felt it. Then we got to stop, and then Gary Johnson, which is he still go down the best point guard I ever played with in my life. He gets a stop. He dribbles at Pittsburgh bench and dribbles off his foot.
Yep. Man, I remember. That's the one play I remember, of course, in that game. He dribbled off his foot out of bounds.
Out of bounds. When I tell you, I think the gym lights probably shut off at that point. I knew it was over. I knew it. There's nothing we could have done after that. They're too good. They were too good of a defensive team. And we both were defensive. I think that's the lowest. That's one of the lowest scoring tournament games ever. So, but that game brought UCF family back together and started something. Man, I wouldn't trade anything for the world, man. Although I wish I would have had another next round, because I think that throw would have been it would have been crucial, man.
Well, so you just mentioned it. So your time at UCF, if you look back on it, let's end on a positive note here. You guys won 21 and 25 games for your 2 years at UCF. When you look back on those teams, you mentioned all the players, all the talent you had, sort of the coaching staff. What do you think the legacy of your time in those teams you were on at UCF is? What do you take away most from those 2 seasons?
Oh man, just the whole camaraderie of brotherhood. I mean, we all came in and said, "Hey guys, let's drop the egos." We did things together. As far as like staying together, going out together, as far as like going to each other's some friends' house. Just going in the city together. When we played at Gainesville, we were all together, and I remember so vivid. It was me and another. I think it was Troy Lindback, and the guys looked at me and was like, "Hey man, we can beat y'all in basketball." I said, "You," and it was 5 of them. I said, "You might be able to beat us 2, but I got some more guys." and they all came out like it's a 1980s movie. They all came out in slow motion together. You can't be all of us. That showed us that we all set a value of family. And that's what I think, looking back at it, that we still talk to each other to this day, that we brought the familyhood of basketball back together. So I wouldn't erase anything. Everything is set in stone. How we left it, I wouldn't change it. It was just an amazing time.
So, all right, let's talk about the afro. Because I know that was my favorite part. What made you decide to grow it?
Oh, man. One of my favorite players is Dr. J. I met him at my older brother's tournament. They drove down from Georgia to St. Pete. Well, my mom, I think, saw him at a gas station. They filled up the limo, and she just kept following. And me and my brother, we're in the back seat, don't know where we're going. Then she pulled up to a hotel. We was like, Mom, it's not the game. And she said, just get out the car. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? Boy, just get out the car. And me and my brother get out, and we saw this smooth, I think he was walking in slow motion, and his afro was just out. And my middle brother, which his name is Dorset, he shakes his hand and talks to him. Me, literally, my mouth, it's the first time I ever got starstruck, and the only time. My mouth was wide open. And he said, hey, young fella, you're not going to talk? At that moment, I met one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and I said, I want to be like that guy. And I just grew my fro out from there on. And I said, let me make something mine, because if anybody that played the game so smooth and so graceful, and that was a great person off the court, I'm going to be like. And I decided, I made a decision right there.
Yeah, Dr. J don't get better than that one. So,
yeah.
Did they adjust your height in like the programs and stuff by the game? They kept growing.
Hey, I definitely used it. I think I was 6'8" at one point, and then they cut it back down 6'5". I'm like, well, hey man, let this throw out so I can be 6'8" again.
You don't have it anymore, huh? I see.
No, man. My wife, I was talking to UCF Mike, and I said, he asked me the question, he said, man, what's the fro? I said, well, my wife has it hostage. Man, she took it away from me, and I said, at least can I keep it in a plastic bag, and I'll lock it up. You got to get rid of it or something. I was like, man, this is me. She said, that is 280-ish. You need to let that go. I said, oh, man. So with that being said, like women, you either love them or you hate them, but you can't live without them.
That's right.
Yeah, I told you, mine won't let me grow a mustache.
Yeah, that is too hilarious, man.
I tried one time, and she sniffed me while I was sleeping.
Oh my goodness! What about, you know, November is National Men's Month. It's Movember. You know, a lot. Hey, how about we make a plan right now, and then we take pictures of each other, so she'll was like, hey, okay, well, at least if these guys are doing it, you'll do it. How about that? Well, can we do that?
All right. How about you grow a mustache? I'll grow an afro. How about that?
All right,
we'll do something. We'll definitely do something. I'll have you talk to her. Maybe you can talk her into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm known to be pretty persuasive. I don't know why my wife married me. I have no clue. But I'm pretty persuasive at times.
So after you left UCF, right?
Yeah.
You went and played professionally everywhere.
Yeah.
So you were in Holland, Turkey, Dominican Republic, France, Japan, Spain.
Yeah.
You won championships.
Yeah, man.
What was that like, man? You were all over the world. Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness, man. I thought it was the end of the road. I didn't know anything about international waters, playing basketball. Tom Schubert was one of my coaches. He the one drove me to the post office and said, hey, dude, I got a guy in Holland. And I was like, Holland? And I knew what Amsterdam was because of all the movies that I watched. I was like, you going to put me in Amsterdam? I don't think so. No, you don't do that. And so he got me a job, my first job, man, which I love him for it because he didn't have to do it. Other places, oh, my goodness, man. I picked up Spanish, playing in Spain for 4 years. France was amazing. the teammates, because my last name is Lyons, we was 40 minutes away from Lyon, which was funny. They were like, Lyon? No, we go to Lyon. I say, Lyon. Hilarious. Japan, literally everywhere I go, I'm looking down as far as like, I literally heard Godzilla every day. Godzilla. I'm like, man, hold on now. Y'all talk about me? Come on, man. But man, hey, it was I had an amazing time traveling the world, learning different cultures, just playing the basketball in different parts of the world with everyone. They cherish basketball. But I had an amazing time. Met some good long life friends that I still talk to this day in different countries. If I want this, my plan is to continue to keep going back and doing skills camps, shooting camps or whatnot over there, and then teaming up with them, and then also making, of course, different currencies, and then teaching my sons them about how you can literally take a sport and literally travel around the world if you really put everything together.
Man, who's better than you? You get to
That's
travel
awesome.
the world, play basketball. I mean, come on. Who
Right?
doesn't want to do that?
I know, right? These guys nowadays want to shoot for NBA. I'm like, hey, do you understand the percentage of guys getting into the NBA? And everybody say, yeah, man. Everybody go, dude, you need to turn that key off, take the key out the car, and start walking the other way, because it's not going to happen. So, but and I tell them all about international basketball. You have an opportunity to still get paid, and that's away from home. You get to learn about different world that you would never dream about. So, man, hey, man, I'm so blessed to understand and have an opportunity, man. It's been amazing, dude. It's been amazing. It's been amazing.
Well, you talked about basketball talent. So you grew up in Florida, right? You know Florida's got athletes everywhere. There's great basketball players all throughout the state, right? They're packing gyms. Coaches are coming to Florida all the time to recruit talent and take them out of Florida to other programs. So
Right.
keeping that in your mind, if I had told you after the 2005 season that UCF would not be back in the conference tournament for 14 years, what would you have said to me?
I would think you were crazy. I was like, no, those guys. I think the next year going back to back. Hold on now. I wouldn't believe you at all. Because of what the foundation, you would think that kids would come in and be like, yeah, I'm going to UCF. Those guys, I just believe that's going to be a great school for me.
So yeah, what do you think was what do you think was like the disconnect? What do you think sort of caused all those years of us not being able to get back over to the tournament side?
Mainly I think it's like if I had to put a pin like exactly on what it is, it's the recruiting part, the process, not getting those people that's coming in is very hungry, because with UCF being a mid-major type of team, most guys, especially Central Florida, you got Florida, you got Florida State, you got Miami, and nobody would choose UCF as one of those top teams to even go to, or top schools, should I say. But I think it's that. It has to always be recruiting, getting those guys that they know that are hungry. That's wants to get out there and do what it takes. So that's what I would think was the biggest drop off. So
well, luckily, it looks like Coach Dawkins has that turned around, right? So we got a good group of kids right now. So the current team, posted to go to the tournament for the first time since the teams you were on played there. Have you had a chance to keep up with the program? Are you able to follow along and see the success the team's had so far this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been following along mainly because we have more, let's say, TV games, and those have been helpful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think different TV companies, let's say like Xfinity, are joining in with different, I would say, web casting, and then having a different. You can watch all games any type of game, anywhere. So I've been catching them on webcast. But I love the core group of guys that they have now. Man, Dawkins is doing an amazing job. Oh my goodness. That's what we needed. I think that come over there, somebody that knows the game, that cares for the young men that comes there, and overall understands where to go get the guys from, and that's what makes the big difference. I mean, you got point guards, you got shooters, you got bigs, and that's the game. And they're a defensive team as well. So he being that he's a former Dookie, you know those guys locked up.
Yeah. So Mike and I think that we have the kind of team that can make a run in the tournament and get to the second weekend. Are we crazy, or what do you think?
Nope. No, I'm right there with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody now, watch out for them. I knew it. Let's say, I think it was a streak of games that we went on, and I think we went on like a 4. It's late. It's late in February. I think we went on a 4-game winning streak, and I was like, here we go. Now, everybody else think I'm crazy. They're like, man, you just biased because you went there. Like, no. I know a team when I see one. And we knocked off 2 guys back, 2 big time schools. We beat Houston in Houston. That's first of all, that's a huge thing right there. And then we knocked off Cincinnati, and those 2 teams that's top 25.
Yeah,
I think it all started. Yeah, I think it all started right after that first Houston game. We lost, and they beat us up pretty good. But then after that, I think it was the Memphis game, right?
Yeah, Memphis game. Yeah.
And we just killed SMU. We scored we could have scored 100 points.
They were horrible this year. They are horrible.
And then the big ones. Yeah, the Houston and the Cincinnati games. So the teams have been looking good, man.
Yeah, man. I like the core group of guys, man. They all seem like they're very humble. BJ, hey, he's playing out his mind this year. I love it. Man,
You're going to the game, right? No matter where we're playing.
Man, we don't talk about it in text message, man. I'm definitely.
It doesn't matter where, right? If it's out in California,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, man. I got my hoodie. Going in, man. I'm good to go. My wife already knows, so. I'm able to get a hall pass.
Oh, I was gonna say, so you get to go by yourself?
Yes. Thank God.
Yes, I want to go by myself too.
You guys got to go by yourself, man. Well, you guys, I'm sure you guys gonna go by. You already have multiple hall passes as it is.
Yeah, I get a couple nights a year. That's about it. Do you have kids or you don't have kids?
Yes, I have. We just, excuse me. We just added on my last son. We just had him on the 18th, so my wife and I, I think we're finished though. That's it.
Oh, congratulations, man! What number is that?
That's number 4. So
number 4. Oh my God.
Yeah, and that's the magical number. I mean, I wore number 4 all my years, my career. So that's it. I'm done. There's no more entertainment.
Well, hold on. One more, you got a starting 5, Dex. I mean, just one more, you got a starting squad right there.
Yeah, all boys? Not all boys.
No. We have my second to youngest is a girl, and she right now. I tell you one thing: she dribbles the basketball every day. I want to slap it out of her hands and get her a tennis racket, and just to see if she's gonna cry and be like, "No, ball." I slap it out of her hand every day because Kobe's daughter is the reason why I want to push that. I want to push her to play basketball. But with the 3 boys, man, I'm excited because it's just another opportunity to get to share my story and tell them guys and see which one eyes sparkle up and say, "Dad, I want to play basketball." It's going to be amazing, man.
That's incredible. That's the best. Being a parent's the best thing ever.
Yeah, you guys got kids?
Incredible. I have 2 little girls. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Adam's got 2 too. Adam has a boy and a girl.
Okay. Now, are you shooting for another? You got to get a boy now.
Uh-oh.
You know how many times I've heard that? Yeah, my wife was on that for a while. I think she's finally given up.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so now you know she's giving up. That means it's your turn to surprise him.
Yep. These kids eat too much, man. They cost a lot of money.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness, yeah, they do. I don't see my household here now. I'm going to purchase 2 deep freezers. I'm going to put in 2 half a cows in there. So I think we're going to be all right, man. I think we're going to be all right. I used to play the I forgot that wagon trails back in the day where you hunt bison on a computer. I think I'm pretty good at that. You know, we don't have any bisons, but I think we got some deers in the backyard. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So you can tell that you would love being coaching. You love coaching too, huh? You're coaching right now.
Yeah, I am.
At the basketball academy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I think this one. I think, and I'm just going on a hunch. Kurt Spiro has something to do with it because, and that's my first camp I go with next weekend. I go to Iowa City, and who's in Iowa City at the University of Iowa? It's Kirk Spiro, and that's headquarters for the basketball academy that I'm working with. So I don't believe in coincidence. I just believe in fate, and that's what it is. And man, this has been amazing, man. Going around the country and just teaching the game from my perspective. Just connecting with next generation of ballers, man. Whether it's young ladies or young men, is probably about the biggest joy outside of being on that court, because now I get to tell my life story in the mix of teaching them, left and right and left, just using the basketball knowledge that I have. Man, it's been amazing, man, so far.
Right, Dexter. So you are the first person that we can confirm we've talked to that actually listens to the show. So you know what's coming up next. We always do our rapid fire question segment. So these are 10 questions. It could be about anything. Even Mike and I don't know what they're about sometimes. So are you ready to face these rapid fire hard hitting questions?
Hey, put me in the game, Coach. Put me in the game.
Here we go. Here's the first one. Speaking of games, who was the toughest person that you've ever had to cover?
Myself.
Okay. Fair enough.
That would be pretty difficult, I would think.
He's not wrong. Yeah, he's not wrong.
Oh, my goodness. Yes, sir.
All right, that's the final answer, I guess.
Yeah, myself. Every game I'm trying to beat myself. There's nobody been, I say, that I've really had to lock, because we locked down. That was my first prayer was locking somebody down. So there has not been anybody that was worthy of me working extra hard. So I was trying to beat my last game. My last game, I'm trying to beat that guy. I cannot lock somebody down with 2 points. I can lock somebody down with 0 points. So I was trying to beat me.
All right. So besides you, who has the best afro of all time?
Oh, man. Got to be my man, Dr. J, man.
Yeah, I knew that answer now after.
Oh, my goodness, man. His hair was just – I think his hair was alive. I mean, it never went down. I was like, how is that possible? When I get after the game, my junk is either back looking like Frederick Douglass, or it was forward looking like Duran Duran or something like that.
All right, what was the craziest thing you ever experienced playing overseas, either in the game or in the stands? There's always a lot of stories about guys playing overseas. What's the craziest thing you ever experienced?
Oh my goodness! And I still feel it to this day. My top lip getting hit with a Turkish litter. It's a coin in Turkey. We beat Galatasaray, and they were known for throwing coins after the games at the visitor players. And I was like, yeah, right. I'm from College Park, man. Nobody ain't gonna hit me with no dang on coin. And little alone, they told me to run. Literally, somebody looked like, I would say, Nolan Ryan, and then just slung one, hit me on my top lip. My lip was bigger than my nose. And that's about the craziest I ever had to experience. Oh, my goodness.
I guess there's negatives of playing overseas.
There's that.
Sheesh. All right. Okay. You remember Nitro's ex-girlfriend, Glycerin?
Yes.
Was she hot or not?
Yes, to me. She was hot. I told she was hot.
I put that question down. Adam thought I was nuts.
Am I the only one?
No, I think she's hot too.
Thank you. So, okay. Oh my goodness. I wish I was recording this. Oh yeah, it is recording.
Yeah, we're recording. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
They
thought I was crazy.
Are you guys separated at birth or something? I mean, you guys are a lot alike.
Oh my goodness.
Well, all right. So one area you're not alike at, Dexter. So I know Mike has in his career he has 0 technical fouls called against him. How many technicals did you get in your career, and did you deserve any of them?
I mean, as a collegiate athlete or just international?
Yeah, either or, all of the above.
Oh my goodness. Some of them I deserve, and some of them I think was some bull. The ones that I deserve, yeah, absolutely. That's me dunking on some guys and literally walking off the court and sitting in the stands. You have to give it. You have to give it.
All right, I take that back. Mike has done that before. I apologize.
There you go, Mike. There you go, baby.
All right. So you said you listened to the show, which I can't believe you actually. Somebody listens to the show. And it's you. All right. Can you settle some debates then that we've had here on the show before?
Okay. All right. So basically, I like the one where.
Hold on. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me the one you want.
I want to say, man, I want to say you guys had, I think a Rashard Causey or something like that.
Yeah, he was on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I see. I can't. Let me see. If I can remember that, and I just happen to be I'm riding on the work, and then I get the episodes updated automatic when you guys drop them. Oh my goodness. I didn't think you guys were gonna put me on the spot like that one.
All right, maybe you can help us.
Okay, so I have the questions. So here's some debates. Peanuts in the brownies. Yes or no?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah,
Dexter.
Yeah. What about for Thanksgiving dinner? When you eat your food, do you keep all your food separated, or do you mix it all up and just eat it?
Oh man, you gotta just get in there and mix everything up together.
This guy is just like me.
Seriously, you guys are like twins.
Dude,
Jeez.
that's the only way to eat it. I mean, hey.
You gotta get all the flavors together, right?
Thank you. That's why it's called Thanksgiving. I'm thankful for all the things I'll be able to put in my mouth at one time.
Yeah, when you get a taco, you don't dissect it and then just eat the cheese and just eat the meat and then eat the shell.
I mean,
you just dive in, man. You dive in.
Welcome to the Sons of UCF with real Dexter and fake Dexter over here. All right, so one thing I know Mike has never experienced. So, Dexter, has anyone ever tried to put you on a poster and dunk on you? And if so, were they successful?
Oh, my goodness. Now, this goes back to high school versus my rival. This is a tip-off. I'm the one that's tipping the ball off, and then I run down like a dummy and jump late. And this dude dunks on me at the first play of the game off the tip-off. Dude, literally, in my own gym. That is by far my worst moment ever. But I got him back. Off of alley-oop, backdoor, off of out-of-bounds play. And I told the football players on the front row, I said, hey, y'all, watch this right here. I guarantee you there's going to be something to see. Backdoor lob Lions, boom! The crowd was crazy. The crowd, and then we're known for having a huge crowd on the inside of our gym. Everybody came on the court. They had to put pepper spray because it was almost over with. The game was almost over with, but to back out the crowd, it was crazy, man. It was absolutely bananas in there. So, getting dunked on, posterized, yes, I have. International, no, nowhere near it. I will foul you like it's Dennis Rodman and Kurt Rambis. I will foul you that.
All right, tell me what you remember this place as: Locos or Wackadoos?
Oh, Wackadoos.
We were Locos when we got there, right?
Yeah, we were Locos, but it was something about Wackadoos because they let us write our names on the tables, and then that everybody could see. So with the Locos, I think the management ownership or something like that was like, you know what? Let's try something different. And then everybody was kind of writing their name, and I wanted to make sure that everybody saw my name on the middle table. And so, I guess at this time I was single. All the girls were like, "Oh, he eats here," and so I would come there literally on purpose. I wouldn't even have nothing to eat. I would just order like a water or something like that, and then I would get the Chick-fil-A and come back over. It's like, man, this is crazy.
That's a good move.
And just wait for the women to come swarming?
Just wait for them to come in there, because normally they only see us during game time. And because we know we have early classes, and then we'll go to class and then go right back to the gym and work out and train and all that stuff. So it's rarely that they get to see us. So I used to do this on purpose. They didn't know you can go to your academic advisor and schedule your own classes. So I was like, okay, let me put a schedule here. Let me free up here. Let me load up on these days. At one point, I wouldn't have class for about 4 hours, and I would just sit in there, just sit and wait. I was like, yes.
Just stroking the fro, just wait.
Yes, with my pick. I had a pick and just like, I can't wait till they come in here. Be the only one in there at that time. It's like, I can't wait. Hey, that's Dexter. That's Dexter, right? That's the fro. Yeah, that's me, baby. Come on here and run through my hair. I used to say something crazy.
I mean,
that place is a Chili's now.
Get out of here, man.
Yeah, it sucks, man. It's a Chili's now.
That's not college atmosphere.
No.
Man.
I know.
But look, that's a veteran move on your part, Dexter. I mean, that's for all you young kids listening. That's how you write all that down, replay that. That's how you get it done right there, kids. That's a veteran move on your part.
I appreciate it, man.
All right, so
Days are long gone.
let's say you got one game to play tomorrow, right? One game, and it's a big important game, and you can only listen to one song to get you hyped for that game. What song are you listening to?
Oh my goodness, man. It was back in them days. It was something different, but I would definitely go with Lil Jon and Eastside Boys and saying, "We represent for GA, throw it up," and we used to play that in the arena. And till this day, I still get chills. Like, I got chills on my body right now. This is crazy. Oh man. It's just the area. It's just the era that I grew up in. Now there's no more crunk music to get hyped to. There's more, I don't know, these kids rapping about these days. But definitely Lil Jon and Eastside Boys, throw them up.
All right, do you consider UCF to be a football school or a basketball school?
Man, I will always say it's a basketball school, man. I will always say that. I know that it's both. Okay, I would say both. I probably can't be biased with this one because them years that I was there, it wasn't considered football. You had great guys that were there, like Asante Samuels, Doug Gabriel. There was individual guys. Who else? Who the fullback? Well, it played baseball. I think D. Brown. Those were individual guys. But we put the school back on the map as far as basketball by going to the tournament and bringing publicity with 15 games in a row. And possibly we could have cracked the top 25, but we're still too we're just underestimated. But now I would say that it's a both. Being that, oh my goodness, UCF is getting in those pissed off athletes that Florida State didn't want, that Florida Gators didn't want, and then Miami didn't want, and they trying to prove a point. And on the basketball end, we get in a great coach that knows the X's and O's, knows how to play the game, and that's a player coach. So I definitely have to choose both.
Yeah, a lot of it, I think, had to do with the conferences that we were in. I mean, we were ASUN when you were there, right? And then we moved to Conference USA.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those conferences are only getting one team in the tournament. Basically.
Yeah, I know. It's horrible, which is horrible, man.
So, right, we got a shot this year, man.
Yeah, we do. We are in there. Like I say, I will see you either in South Carolina or in Jacksonville. I hope it's Jacksonville.
Yeah, I'm hoping for Jacksonville. That's the only. I think that's the only one I can make is Jacksonville.
Yeah, I mean, we can have the crowd. We will have our home crowd, wherever it is. I mean, that'd be amazing, man, for the people to get a chance to come see if they are able to come see it. That'd be amazing.
Well, speaking of amazing, Dexter, this interview was great, man. We appreciate you hopping on. So fun, man. Thanks for telling all those cool stories and taking us back to your time at UCF. We definitely appreciate all you did for the program. Again, you were one of the first to really put us out there. So we certainly want to thank you for joining us and for all you've done for UCF. I also want to thank you too. So now I know what it's like to be a third wheel on a blind date between you and Mike. So I appreciate that as well. But all seriousness, man, thanks for joining us, and we'll certainly keep in touch and keep tabs with you as you continue on your coaching career.
Hey, man, guys, man, I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed our conversation, man. Thanks for having me on for Sons of UCF.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
This is UCF Athletic Director Danny White, and if you don't want to be the cow of the week, you need to listen to Adam and Mike on the Sons of UCF. Charge on, go Knights!
All right, Dexter Lyons was fantastic, and we will certainly try to get him back on soon. Maybe the Sons of UCF pregame show, which, if you missed it, we went live before the Houston game. We might do another basketball game or two, Mike. That was kind of fun. It was great to have Bo Clark on. Trace obviously was with us again as well. We've definitely enjoyed the video thing, and maybe we'll try a little bit more of that too, and maybe Dexter will be our next guest. You never know.
That's right. And Saturday works out good. We were used to doing the pregames on Saturday for football. So it happened to be a big game on Saturday. And I think we got a couple other big ones on Saturdays or Sundays coming up soon. So stay tuned.
All right. Let's do two things. And Mike, the UCF Mike family acquired a dog. We've been teasing this all show long. If you've waited the 2+ hours to hear this, thank you so much. Mike should send you a free hat if you're still listening at this point. You would ask people to help you name the dog, Mike, and you got a lot of responses. I saw Otis was a popular one. I saw a lot of Milton's was a popular one. A couple of Frosts were in there. I think we can get rid of those. Some Nitros were in there. And I guess, are you ready to exclusively reveal the family name? And I know you were only one deciding vote in this entire process. There's 3 other votes, I assume, yes?
Yeah.
So you clearly did not have the majority in the voting pool here. But are you prepared to exclusively reveal the name?
I'm prepared, but you know what? Bad news about the hats. The dog just ate the remaining hats.
Okay, so. All right.
Those are out.
So not only did you listen this far for the dog's name, now you lost the hats too. This is really turning out bad for everybody. We apologize.
All right. So this has been a hotly debated topic around here for a while. The girls didn't know about the dog at all until Christmas morning, so they've only been talking about the name for the last couple of days. My wife has known about it for a couple of weeks now. Plus, she's kind of brainwashed my children into what name she wanted for the last 3 years in case we ever did get a dog.
It's a good thing she doesn't
listen.
So
that was a big factor. Well, she knows she did it. I told her. And anyway, so for me, I wanted a cool name. He's a mini golden doodle. He's, I guess, considered apricot color, but he's kind of brown, long, furry hair. In case you haven't seen the pictures, which, by the way, I posted dog pictures yesterday. I've never gotten the response on any tweet, not even close to this tweet I sent out. The impressions are through the roof on just this dog tweet. All my other tweets, I've been doing this show for 3 years now, tweeting about UCF all the time. Nobody cares. I tweet freaking 3 pictures of a dog. Everybody goes,
Mike, what did Cosmo Kramer tell you? Scandals and animals, buddy. That's how you move the needle. Scandals and animals.
I think we changed the whole format of this podcast.
Yes.
And to turn it into a puppy podcast or something. We'd be doing pretty well. Oh, man. So anyway, back to the name. I've been trying. I threw out a bunch of UCF themed names. My actual number one name that I wanted was a Giants themed name. I wanted to call him Tyree. After the David Tyree catch in the Super Bowl, I thought that would have been really cool. That was my number one choice. Got shot down. I also shot for Manolo, which was Tony Montana's best friend in Scarface. That didn't work out. I had a bunch of other ones. The UCF ones I threw out there. I tried Shaquem. I tried Dante. I tried Nitro. Nitro, my wife said no. She liked it, but she actually had a dog named Nitro as a kid, but it wasn't named after the UCF Nitro. It was after the American Gladiator.
Yeah, good call.
So that kind of got shot down. I tried a bunch of other ones. Blake actually got the closest of all of them after Blake Bortles, but yet that was a no-go too. So the name she's been brainwashing him with for the last 3 years was Brandon, and that's actually ended up being the dog's name. Kind of disappointing. I don't think of it as a dog name. Obviously, it's just a regular human name, Brandon. But the best basketball player we have right now is Brendan Mahan, so maybe there's something to go with him.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, so Otis didn't get any. I thought Otis might have been a good dog name. No.
Yeah, Otis would be cool, but I guess that didn't pick up any traction either. No Otis. Basically, anything that I suggested was out the window in a second. No, nobody even.
Why didn't you suggest Brandon then? Hello.
Nobody took my name seriously at all, and I got outvoted 3-1. All I did was pay for the dog. I mean, I should have at least got some courtesy. Yeah. But I got nothing. I'm not even the one who wanted the dog, to be honest. I never wanted a dog. It's the reason we haven't had one up to this point. These three have been begging me for one for as long as they've been alive. They finally get one, and I don't get to name it. So,
I mean,
what are you gonna do?
I can appreciate the 90210 tie-in, but I agree. Brandon's it's a tough dog name. I'll give you that. What do you call him for short? Like Brando?
I'm just calling him Brando. Exactly. Marlon Brando at least was the Godfather. I'm thinking about just saying Brando.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah. So actually, one of our best listeners is Brandon Chinander.
Brando Nitro, yeah.
So
maybe start calling Brando Nitro. Yeah, there you go. Get it on there.
Yeah, there you go.
So
most of the time so far, I just call him stupid because that's basically all he does. Just chew up stuff and poop in the house.
And all the goodwill you built up with the picture probably just went out the trade at that point in time. So are you the cow of the week, or do you have another cow of the week?
No, I have a cow of the week.
Okay.
And it could have been it's a week late, but they did it again to themselves this week. The New York Jets.
The New York Football Jets.
They had a perfect season going on this year. They started out 0-13. They were in line to get their franchise quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. The guy everybody regarded him as going to be the number one pick in the draft for the last 3 years now. Ever since his freshman year when he came in and beat up Alabama in the championship game, he was a can't-miss pick. He's a Peyton Manning, a John Elway type, Andrew Luck pick. Definitely going to be the number one pick. They had him in line. There was nothing that could go wrong. All they had to do was keep losing. Even a couple of weeks ago, when they were cows earlier, we thought they were losing on purpose when they gave up that bomb to the Raiders in the final seconds. It was the best thing they ever did. And then they win a freaking football game last week against the Rams, who are a playoff team. Nobody saw that coming. Then they come back again this week and put no doubt left in anybody's minds, and they beat the Browns 2 wins in a row. What the heck are they doing? They now, I don't know what they're going to do. They continue with Darnold, I guess, going forward. And if they're stupid enough, they win again this week and maybe keep Adam Gase for another year.
Yeah, there's no way. I'm not saying there's no way they win, but there's no way they do that.
No, I thought what was going to happen was Jacksonville would somehow win this weekend. They'd get back in the number one spot, and then Belichick would throw the game next week just to keep them from getting Trevor Lawrence. But that didn't even need to happen. They win again this week against the Browns, which actually I really enjoyed because our friend that's a Browns fan.
I do, yeah, poor Rick.
And also for the Jets not getting Trevor Lawrence, it was a double whammy for me. I loved it. But what the hell are they doing? I mean, now I don't know where they're going to go with their pick. I guess they need so many. There's probably a million holes that they need to fill, and quarterback's probably not even their biggest problem. But when you have a chance to get a franchise quarterback like that, you don't screw it up. And Jacksonville is very excited about it.
Yeah, I live in Jackson. I mean, like 7 people are really talking about it here. It's really something that everyone's all fired up about. Pretty apathetic fan base here for the Jaguars, by the way. But yeah, I mean, listen, we'll see if he's good or not. Now there's rumors that Urban Meyer potentially is interested in coming off of the Fox Sports set to become a head coach, and he would consider Jax because he still has some ties to the area, obviously. So I guess it could get interesting. But of course, the Jets, in the perfect Jets way, just figure out a way to screw all that up.
Yeah, and they'll screw up whatever head coach they pick too. Let's be honest. They're the Jets for the reason that they've stunk for 50 years. Half my family are Jets fans, so it's always been a fun thing for me. I'm glad my dad made me a Giants fan when I was a kid, because otherwise I would have got brainwashed by my cousins, my uncles early, and it could have led to a very disappointing football life for me.
Yeah, that could have been a bummer. That could have been a big bummer. Yeah. I feel bad for Jets fans. Not much to cheer for these days. Even the freaking Bills are about to win I think they won the division now. The Browns are knocking on the door of the playoffs, right? Yeah, it seems like the Jets are kind of the backslide, and the Jaguars, obviously.
Well, that shows them that they could have turned things around. It doesn't take long. The Browns only won one game over 2 years, not long ago. The Bills were terrible for so long, but guess what? They got their quarterbacks, and that's where it started to turn around, and the Jets had a chance to get that guy. And now, who knows? Next year, maybe they win 3-4 games, and they don't get a shot at that number one pick again. I don't feel bad for them, but if I'm a Jets fan, I'm pretty upset.
You probably are, Mike, and for good reason, for sure. I have a cow of the week. This guy is somebody, I don't know if we've ever highlighted him before. I think we actually have one time. His name is Mike Farrell or Mike Farrell. I'm not really sure exactly the pronunciation. I don't care enough to look it up. He is he works for Rivals. He's part of the Rivals network. He's the guy who said a few years back, under no circumstance could you ever draft Shaquem Griffin. He doesn't belong in the NFL. And obviously we see how that turned out. But he took to Twitter again, Mike. I don't know if you've seen his tweets. Clearly not a fan of the quote-unquote group of five programs. And so he took to his Twitter feed this week and essentially continues to do everything he can to knock the group of five teams. And he had a little tweet. He's one of those people who every time he has an opportunity to talk about UCF and national championship, he finds a way to make a joke in there. And so he essentially posted a joke and basically said, and basically Coastal wanted into the playoff after Coastal Carolina lost to Liberty. They would lose by like 70 to Alabama. Imagine if they pulled the UCF and declared a national championship. And of course, he summarily got sort of roasted on there and all the different reasons why, why that's wrong. But then he went and he then posted his top group of five quarterbacks. And guess who was number one, Mike? The quarterback from Coastal Carolina.
Dylan Gabriel?
Yeah, the quarterback from Coastal Carolina, who basically said that they weren't any good. And Dylan Gabriel was three behind McCall is the kid from Coastal, and then Shane Buechele. So Farrell's tweet was, can you imagine the Coastal Carolina team would have claimed the national title like UCF had? Bama or Alabama would have put 70 on that team, maybe 80. So Mike Farrell continues to be an idiot. So he gets my cow of the week.
Yeah, I don't understand. We talk about it. Why do people not want Cinderella in college football? It makes no sense. It's what everybody loves in every other sport. And yet these guys can't wait to crap on these small teams at any chance they get. So Coastal Carolina lost a good game. They lost to a good team too. Louisiana was a good team this year. And they beat a couple Big 12 teams, Pac-12 teams. No, what is it? Big 12 teams, right?
Yeah.
Big 12 teams. And that's not a bad loss. It looks bad because they're not a P5 school. I mean, give me a break. Coastal Carolina would have been a fun game to watch. I would have been more excited to watch Coastal Carolina and Alabama than I am Notre Dame and Alabama. I'm not watching that crap. So.
Well, here's the only reason I think that happened. And maybe it's just the way my Twitter feed loads stuff. So I don't know if that's how this works, right? But his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... 6, 7, 8, 9, of his 10, of his first 11, 12, of his first like 25 responses, half of them were UCF people.
Yeah. Well, our Twitter people, they do not miss anything that anybody says about us or any G5 or any Americans. We're all over everything. So there's millions of us.
You talked about impressions, right? You mentioned earlier with your tweet, like his tweet here got 458 likes. He got 29 quote tweets, 37 retweets, and 82 comments. which, looking at his Twitter feed right now, his previous comment, let's see, this one is 4, 3, 19, 7, 3, 4, 4, 6. He's got some poll questions that got a couple of votes. But I mean, I think that's why people do this, right? Because look at the amount of traffic that he got. Scandals and animals, buddy. That's the model, and he goes scandals.
That's why I'm gonna move to animals. So if you follow the UCF Mike Twitter page, you're gonna see a lot of puppy pictures coming up in the next few weeks, and probably drive a lot of traffic. And then, oh, by the way, we do a podcast, so if you like looking at these puppies, come listen to us.
We've got goldfish in my house. I'll have to take a couple pictures of them one of these days. So we'll have to get that in there. The new Sons of UC. We'll have to come up with a new name. But either way, those are our cows of the week. Obviously, you all have been fantastic. Again, the new year is coming around the corner, Mike. So, just a big thanks to everybody out there for your support over these past 12 months. It's been a pretty crappy 12 months as far as life can go for a lot of people. Hopefully, if we played any role in keeping you UCF sane during this process, we certainly tried our best. Hopefully we've done that. The New Year's around the corner. Everybody be safe on New Year's Eve. It's amateur hour out there, so be safe. Get where you're going. Get with the people you want to be around. Be safe and do all that good stuff. And make sure that you keep looking out for us in 2021, Mike. We got some big things we'll probably put on the agenda. Let's see if we actually ever pull them off and actually attempt to do them. But we do have some big things planned for us. So from all of us here at the Sons of UCF, a hearty, happy New Year out there to everybody. And we appreciate all your support in 2020. Can't wait to do more things in 2021.
It's going to be another good year. Well, I mean, this year sucked. Let's be honest. 2020 was garbage all around. So hopefully this year coming up can't be any worse, right? So stick with us and we'll get you through it. And yeah, just a couple other names I forgot to mention that I was trying to get in there. Squeezer, which is the name of our citronaut. That didn't go over well. And Bouncer or Bouncy for the Bounce House.
Oh, wow.
No go there either. But I even threw out Torchy and Bo, and I got nothing then. Maybe next year we'll rename the dog something else.
Oh, well, I mean, we should have done a contest, name Mike's dog. Although it sounds like we tried that, and your family was like, "Yeah, cute idea, Mike. Never mind." So maybe I'm actually quite allergic to dogs, but maybe if I get a pet, I don't think we have names for our fish. If you guys want to take a crack at those, I'll post some pictures.
And by the way, they started an Instagram page for this thing, and he's already got almost as many followers as me. The dog is going to be more famous than myself doing this podcast. So.
Well, hijack that page. Make sure. Can we get the dog some promotion on that page?
You know what? I'm going to put the Sons of UCF hat on the dog and put a picture on it.
Is there a dog UCF attire? Can you buy like a dog shirt for UCF stuff?
I looked for the last couple of weeks before Christmas because that's the one thing I wanted them to wear. I couldn't really find anything good. I'm sure there is something on there. So if anybody else knows, let us know.
Well, we're all about merch here. We need dog shirts and we need Sons of UCF hats. But again, everybody be safe. Have a fantastic New Year's Eve. And Mike and I will be back soon to talk to you all. Everybody, we appreciate you. Go Knights.
Charge on.